What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Limited Resources. This episode number 814. My name is Marshall. I'm one of your Limited Resources, and joining me on the line all the way from Denver, Colorado, it's Luis Scott-Vargas. Luis, you ready to dive into the Rare and Mythic show here for Edge of Eternities?
Yeah, the Rare and Mythic show is always really fun because just based on the timing, we've always, most of the time we've gotten to play a good amount. I know that you had some issues getting things started yesterday, but I feel like I have a lot more information once this rolls around.
That's great. I'll be looking forward to hearing it. I got to do a total of one draft, and I have not played a game of it yet. So a little bit of scheduling conflict yesterday. So I have a drafted, and it's red white. Like, I'm kind of not that. Should I be excited to play this red white deck I drafted? Like, assume I have
if it's good. I guess I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess I'll let you know. But anyway, we're going to cover every rare and mythic rare in Edge of Eternities today on the show. We're also going to go over the bonus sheet as well. So before we do, we wanted to say thank you to each and every person who supports us over on Patreon. It's patreon.com/limited resources. And it's kind of the backbone of the show. We really appreciate everybody who supports us. You get some cool extra perks, like you get a thank you card and a sticker in the mail, as well as access to our live behind the scenes recording, which we've been chatting with people in the chat before recording for the actual episode here. And also you can see that even if you're not here at that time, it goes up on YouTube, where you get a link to it if you're a Patreon supporter. You also can ask questions for the Patreon question of the week and our Q&A episodes that we do, and a whole lot more. Anyway, thank you to everybody who supports us over on Patreon. We also want to say thank you to Ultimate Guard. They make the best stuff in the business. If you need a way to protect your cards, your decks, and your collection, you're going to find it at Ultimate Guard. You can head over to ultimateguard.com to look at their full line of products. They have everything from, their more basic lineup where it's like well-made, great materials, basic colors, just protect your cards that way, all the way up to really cool alternate products that have some of your favorite IPs built into them, artwork, stuff like that, if you wanted to have a little bit more show-off factor. You can find everything at ultimateguard.com, and you can pick it up at your favorite online retailer or local game store. Thank you, Ultimate Guard. We do appreciate it. So as I mentioned, we're going to go over every single card. We're going to talk in depth about what each one does, what we like about it, what we don't. But sometimes the discussion can leave the viewer feeling like, well, where do they actually come down on this card? And for that, we give them each a grade, Luis.
We do. And our grading scale is an A through F scale with 2 subgrades. We're going to start with the A's. The A's are the game winners, the bombs, the cards that are good, especially when behind, and the best cards in the set. In this Rare and Mythic review, you do tend to see a good amount of A's. So we're talking cards like Smuggler's Copter, Dion, Bahamut's Dominant. B's are cards that actively pull you towards their colors or combination of colors, headliners for a set, and go-to cards. We're talking solid removal, some of the better uncommons and the best commons. Cards like Overkill or Swallowed by Leviathan. C's are playable. These are the pawns of limited. They're pretty interchangeable. You don't actually see a ton of them in the Rare and Mythic review because rares tend to cluster at the 2 poles, whether they're bombs or terrible. So C's, you'll see some of them, and we're talking cards like Bard's Bow or Blazing Bomb, just cards you're not happy or unhappy to play. D's are sometimes playable. You would prefer not to run them. They're like a little too expensive, a little too much setup, a little too narrow. Cards like Adventurer's Airship or Laughing Mad. And then F's, we'll actually see plenty of these. These are unplayable in virtually all scenarios, incredibly narrow cards with super rough mana costs like Aetir and Prywin. We also have 2 subgrades. Sideboard, which is you wouldn't run this in the main deck, but out of the board it can be pretty strong. You don't actually typically see very many rares get the sideboard grade either. We're talking cards like Airship Crash. And then Build Around. These are cards that on their own don't do that much, but when supported can be among the best cards in your deck. We're talking cards like Machinist Arsenal or The Final Days.
And that's about it, right? 1 grade per card from each of us. Then that's it?
What do you mean?
Yeah. I can proceed to the cards now?
Oh, yes.
All right. I
I
will
thought
do
I was
so.
missing something.
No, you're
I
not
was
missing
confused.
anything. We'll start off with black. We like to rotate which color we start with each time, just to make sure that everything gets the same, amount of attention in the aggregate. And so our first card up is called 0 Point Ballad. This is a sorcery at rare. It costs black and X. And it says, destroy all creatures with toughness X or less. You lose X life. If X is 6 or more, return a creature card put into a graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. Boy, they just snuck that you lose X life right in the middle there, didn't they? That's some spoiled meat on that sandwich. That could mean you can't even cast this thing.
Yeah, but it's still just a really strong card. Like, you cast it for like X equals 2 or 3, you kill all the early stuff and you lose a couple life, but probably less than if, you were getting bashed by whatever it is was attacking you. And then if you can get the 6 life mode off, then this card is quite strong. I found it had good results with the card. You do have to preserve your life total. That's what nutrient blocks are for. And if you can cast it for 7 mana, then you are usually in a pretty commanding position because you'll kill everything and then put the best thing killed back into play under your control.
Yeah, and that sounds like that's a game-ending play when you get to actually pull that off. How do you feel it scales with that early stage mode that you mentioned, where you do it for maybe 2 or 3 or something like that? Is it fine mana-wise?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just a pretty strong card. Okay. And it's even splashable too. I would give 0 Point Ballad probably an A-. Like it definitely has the risk of you're at too low life to be able to really make use of it. But most of the time, I don't think that's the case, because either you have it and you have to use it early and maybe you don't get the full effect, but it's still pretty good, or you get to cast it for the full effect and it's awesome. Like there's not that many times when you needed this to work, but you didn't have the life to use it. Yeah,
it is actually pretty flexible, even though it kind of doesn't look that way at the surface. I was thinking B+, but I could believe A-, given that flexibility for 0 Point Ballad. Next is Sunset Saboteur. This is 1 and a black for a 4/1 human rogue. It's rare. It has menace. So 2 mana, 4/1 menace. That's actually kind of nasty. It also has ward, discard a card. So if your opponent wants to target it, they have to, as an additional cost, discard a card from their hand. And then it says, whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature an opponent controls. Oh, it all came crashing down. That's really interesting, though.
Yeah.
You don't have to attack,
I guess. This card. Yeah, because, I mean, if you play this card turn 2, like, they're going to take a pretty good amount of damage most of the time. The question is, can you either add enough pressure to go along with it where that damage is relevant, or I think the most probably easiest way to deal with it is just kill all their stuff. You end up in a spot where you're just able to routinely just kill the things that they are putting out there. Like you play this turn 2, they play a 2-drop, and you're like, okay, depressurize your 2-drop attack for 4.
Right.
I mean, 4 damage and menace is a lot. So
it is.
I think I like Sunset Saboteur, but I'm not sure. I think it's probably needs a lot of support to be good, is my guess.
That's my vibe too. I like that, you can choose not to attack. It kind of defeats the purpose of the card somewhat, but it is actually a pretty good blocker. They definitely knew what they were doing by making this a 1 toughness creature, meaning effectively any form of interaction with it will kill it. But the ward discard a card means that, they're never really getting out ahead, even if they do. Kind of the ideal thing, right? Which is like maybe that scenario you came up with comes up, but I don't have a removal spell. So I attack, they have a 3/3 now, but I hit them for 4. They play a second creature, and maybe I kill the second creature, then attack with this, target their 3/3 or whatever creature's left over, and then they go, okay, now I'm going to kill the Saboteur. That would seem to be a situation that you've kind of shot yourself in the foot. And in some ways you have, but they have to discard a card too. Like these little increments add up, over the course of a game. And the fact that you're getting this on a 2-drop is somewhat appealing to me. I would not say I'm in love with it. I would go in the C+ range. I think maybe B- for Sunset Saboteur. And I agree with you that it needs a little bit of help. Like I would want it primarily in a more aggressive deck.
Yeah, I think that you really want the life total to matter. So I would try this in a beatdown deck, but I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't that good.
I wouldn't either. Next is Arch Enemy's Charm. Ooh, a charm. Triple black for an instant at rare, and you can choose one. You've got 3 options. You can exile target creature or planeswalker. All right, well, they let off with the good stuff there. Or you can return 1 or 2 target creature and or planeswalker cards from your graveyard to your hand. Wow. Or you can put 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, and it gains a lifelink until end of turn. Wow, those are 3 powerhouse modes. Those are good at any stage too.
I mean, the biggest issue is, of course, the cost. Like triple black is no joke.
That is no joke. So the way I would break this down, Luis, is that I'm not. If I'm playing a 2-color deck, I'm definitely not planning to cast this early, right? Not on turn 3 by any stretch. Is there a point though in the game? Like, what turn would it be unacceptable to, that it's still this turn and I still can't cast my Arch Enemy's Charm? Because I'll tell you, the turn that comes to my mind is 6. And if I cast this and it's turn 6, or let's say I have my 6 lands down, so maybe it's turn 7 or 8 or whatever, I'm still fine with that, right?
Yeah. I mean, there is a cost to a card that, like, let's say a very simplistic view. I know this isn't like a very accurate way. It's like if you have 9 islands, 9 swamps, there's 18 land deck, and you're just like, okay, well, when I have 6 lands in play, a pretty good chance that I'll have three of each, right? But obviously, like, it doesn't take a lot of the times. You're just going to have 4 islands, 2 swamps, and it's just going to be a little less good.
Yeah,
I think I would, in an ideal world, you'd have something like 10 swamps in your deck or 11 swamps in your deck, which is doable. Or, of course, like some multicolor mana fixing, which there aren't the common lands, but there are things that can fix mana. So,
yeah, I would be inclined. So I would put it under the umbrella of that. You have at least 9 swamps or black mana generators in your deck, but 10 would be closer to where I'd want to be. But I'll tell you, Luis, if I did have that, I would be playing Arch Enemy's Charm. Like this card just does stuff at any stage of the game. It kind of doesn't matter. If it's super late game, you can bring back 2 creatures, or even do the 2 +1/+1 counters and lifelink to change a race situation. Exile a creature at any stage of any game is generally going to be a good thing. I would just take the idea of it being a 3-mana card, in a developing game state off the table. But if it ends up costing me 5 or 6, virtual mana, I would pay that for this.
I will say at the end of the day, it is kind of a 1-for-1. Like, I guess getting back 2 creatures is a 2-for-1, but most of the time this isn't like you cast this and get multiple of the modes. So you're talking a card that's a lot of times going to be comparable to Gravkill, the 3 and a black exile, at a more difficult cost. So I have a hard time giving this more than like a C+. If you can easily cast this, if you can reliably cast this, I would say around 11 black sources, it's like a B. But I don't think this card gets into the A range. Honestly, it wouldn't be an A even if you had 17 swamps in your deck. It's still mostly exile target creature for 3 black.
That's true. I would get it B+ probably if I could.
Because
the flexibility is just so great here. But yeah, I agree with you. C+, B- range. B if you can cast it somewhat reliably. Very flexible. Next is Requiem Monolith. This is 2 and a black for an artifact at rare. It has tap. Until end of turn, target creature gains. Whenever this creature is dealt damage, you draw that many cards and lose that much life. That creature's controller may have this artifact deal 1 damage to it, and you can activate this as a sorcery. So you can target your own stuff to draw a card and lose a life, or you can target other stuff in combat or pre-combat and make it awkward for them to block.
Well, there's kind of like 3 different things going on here. The one is exactly what you said, which is you target your own creature and you pay a life to draw a card. I mean, which is, I think, a pretty good mode. The other is you target your creature, pay a life, draw a card, and then attack with that creature, and they can't really block that well, right? Like, imagine you targeted a 2/2 with this, you attack into a 3/3. Like, they can let you pay 3 life to draw 3 cards, but most of the time they're not going to want to do that. And then you also have tap, target their creature, and then they can't really block with it. In fact, on the early access, they blocked with one of these, and they drew 20 and lost 20. They did not win that game because I had a 20 power creature, and so they blocked, but that just doesn't really work to block.
That's incredible.
So the combination of all those is, I think, pretty good. Like I've been really happy with Requiem Monolith. All you need is a 2 toughness creature and a 3-mana card that's like tap, pay a life, draw a card. That's a strong card. You're not going to be unhappy to run that card.
Yeah, for sure. Even with the sorcery speed caveat there, I'm still interested in this. Anything with 2 toughness or above, is the only requirement. And then
the fact that it opens the door to various attacks and or make them like have a more awkward block, I think that's just great. So I'm impressed by Requiem Monolith. I would probably give it an A-. It's a pretty brutal card when it's in play. Like, your opponent plays this. Imagine they play a 2/2 and then into this on turn 3. You're not going to feel great about that situation.
No, you're screwed. Yeah, you're in bad spot. I agree with you. A- for Requiem Monolith. Next is Jeu Effete, Osteoharmonist. This is 1 black for a 2/3 legendary human wizard at rare, and it has tap. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's a skeleton in addition to its other types and has no abilities, and you can only activate this as sorcery speed. Wow.
So it basically just brings back creatures as an XX, or X is their stats. Like, they're just straight up no ETBs, no death triggers, nothing. The thing that's funny about it is it also can just keep doing it to the same creature over and over again.
Can it really? It doesn't get a thing, does it?
Yeah.
A finality counter. Interesting.
So you have the Zoofit in play, and like, let's say you reanimate a 4/4 and they kill the attack, you trade it off. Next turn, if they haven't killed this, you bring it back again.
Huh.
So
that's actually pretty cool. I mean,
and it's a nice combo with any creatures that have just like a lot of stats, and especially with like a drawback or something. And it's just, I don't know, it's like a 3-mana 2/3 that just taps to put creatures into play. Even if they don't have abilities, you're still getting 2/2s or 3/3s back. Even if you get a 2/2 back, that's it. Still pretty good. So yeah, I like Zoofit a lot. You do have to deal with it, or the ground becomes pretty unassailable. So I would give Zoofit an A- just as a 3-drop that like kind of needs to be killed. Maybe on turn 3 it doesn't because there's nothing in the graveyard. But if they just played this with nothing in the graveyard, I would still want to kill it because I'd be worried their next turn it was like discard a creature or sack a creature and then just bring it back immediately.
And when it says it has no abilities, does that just mean whatever's in the text box is just gone?
Yeah, it's just blank.
Just blank. Okay. Next is Corral of the Void. This is 3 and a black for an enchantment aura at rare. And it enchants a creature you control. And whenever the enchanted creature attacks, put target creature card from defending player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, tapped and attacking. And it has Void. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice this aura unless a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny card. So it reanimates something from their graveyard, tapped and attacking. But this goes away if your creature dies, right? Because your creature has to attack. So you put this on a 1/1 attack, it's not going to live. Or B, if nothing dies, if nothing gets voided. So they kind of have incentive not to block. It's an interesting spot, but overall, I think this card is pretty good. Like, if you can land this on like a 1/1 flyer, or just they have an empty board, and you have a way to trigger void, like you have a removal spell or a sacrifice thing, then you're in really good shape. But even sometimes, imagine you play this on your 2/2, you attack, and it's just your creature's going to die straight up. This is going to go away, but you get like a 6/6 out of their graveyard.
Yeah, you get to keep it, right?
Yeah, it's just straight up. It's tapped and attacking. It doesn't sack end of turn or anything.
Yeah. No, that does seem good. It seems like a little bit tricky to set up. Just you need to have a thing on the battlefield. You kind of want the coast to be clear mana-wise from your opponent to a point, but it's only 3 and a black. Normally this type of effect, costs 5 mana or even more sometimes. And you're also getting it now on your side, tapped and attacked. Like that's like a big swing. Like I could, and then this is also just the type of card that, feels like it kind of has to go away after that first attack or they're really, really dead.
Right. The quest to keep this alive for an extra attack is not trivial. You have to have an attacker that gets this, no stat bonus, survives its attack, and something else has to have died.
Okay.
So I played with this once, and I never got it to live through a combat, but it was still pretty good. So,
but you did get to turn it sideways and dig something up.
Yeah, you basically always get to do that, it feels like. I mean, unless obviously they have mana up and they have an instant speed removal.
So
but it's not hard to get one attack. I'd just give it a B. Like, I think you have to have a decent amount of creatures in your deck, but if you have a deck that has a decent amount of creatures, then I think this card, especially if you have some removal spell to go with it, ends up playing out pretty nicely.
Now, one interesting wrinkle, by the way, from Coral of the Void is that it is from their graveyard only.
Correct.
And we're kind of used to either my graveyard or both, right? This is like, no, you are going to be a little dependent on what they've got going on, both what's died or been discarded, but also just like, are they playing green black where you can get back some huge monster, or are they playing red white where you're getting back a 2/2? Right. So it's something to consider too.
Blue red with a bunch of artifacts that have artifact synergy.
Right. They care about other artifacts. Next is Elegy Acolyte. This is 2 black for a 4/4 human cleric at rare, and it has lifelink. So 4 mana, 4/4 lifelink. And it says whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you draw a card and lose a life. Wow, that's already great. And then it has Void at the beginning of your end step. If a non-land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. Wow, that's a regular rare?
Yeah, this card is really strong.
Holy smokes.
I have been impressed by it. Like,
that's an A if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, it kind of just does everything you want. Like, it's obviously just this like massive threat. It also can end up in a spot where like it's just making a 2/2 every turn. Like kind of like the game plan is you like play this attack with your 3/3 into their 3/3, and they're pretty much damned if they do, damned if they don't. They're gonna block so you don't draw a card and then you make a 2/2 in a turn. Or they let you draw a card and then you still keep your 3/3. And there's a lot of permutations of that. Sometimes you're always going to trigger it because you played on turn 5 after playing a removal spell. Like there's just, a lot of ways to play this, and it's still a 4-mana 4/4 lifelink, even if nothing else. So I'm a really big fan of the Elegy Acolyte. I think this card's great.
Yeah, I'd give it an A.
Yeah, easy A, I believe.
4/4 lifelink is amazing already. Next is Entropic Battlecruiser. This is 3 and a black for an artifact spacecraft. This one is rare. And it interestingly has 2 different station levels, if you will. Remember, that's to tap another creature, and then you add that many charge counters to this equal to that creature's power. So if this thing has any at all, so 1 or more charge counters, it has the ability, it's a 3/10. I guess, does it not get that 3/10 until it gets to the 8+ though?
Correct. So that when you station it even once, if it just has 1 charge counter on it, it picks up an ability, and then it doesn't become a creature until you station it for a total of 8.
Okay, so the ability it picks up is whenever an opponent discards a card, they lose 3 life. So it's a little narrow, but kind of interesting. And then if it does get to 8 or more charge counters, it becomes a 3/10 flying death touch. And it says whenever this spacecraft attacks, each opponent discards a card. Each opponent who can't loses 3 life. So whenever you turn this thing sideways, they're losing 3 life one way or the other.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I don't really like any of these modes that much. Like,
no, this is too slow, right?
So, our final verdict, or, kind of like what everyone thinks about Spacecraft is kind of yet to be determined, right? Because we've only had the set out for a couple days. Mm-hmm. I have found Spacecraft to be good if they do something decent on the enters. I haven't found the straight up stats ones to be good. And this is a straight up stats one. Like, yes, it has abilities, but it does nothing until you actually make it into a creature and then attack. You're not even gaining life at that point. Like, it doesn't do that. So I'm not into the Entropic Battlecruiser. This looks to me like an F, honestly.
It does to me too. I think that it needs to give you something up front. That was kind of our takeaway from the commons and uncommons, and the idea of putting 8 charge counters into this thing and then having them go removal spell or bounce it or whatever. It's sickening to the stomach, right? I just can't imagine ever crafting a game plan that's just like, yep, I'm just going to do this for 3 turns in a row and then just have them kill the thing and be like, I got literally nothing. Like nothing happened. So I would say F for Entropic Battlecruiser as well. Next is our first mythic rare here for black. It's Sothera, the Super Void. This is 2 black.
Regular void.
This is 2 black for a legendary enchantment. Again, mythic rare. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent chooses a creature they control and exiles it. And then it says, at the beginning of your end step, if a player controls no creatures, sacrifice Sothera, then put a creature card exiled with it onto the battlefield under your control with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it. That's an interesting card, though it is worth noting that it doesn't do anything on its own, right? Like it just kind of sits there until other stuff starts dying and then it kind of gets moving.
It's underselling it a little bit. If you have 2 creatures out and you play this, like it can do a lot without even triggering. They're not going to attack into your creatures if the exchange now is bad. Like the Grave Pact effect, the first part is really powerful. That historically has been a really strong limited part. Card.
Okay.
No, I mean if you can set it up nicely, like if you cast this, it's not that hard to cast. Like if you cast this on a board where you both have some creatures in play, it's going to work out pretty well. Obviously, they can just blow this up, but that's probably not what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Your token's dying, they exile a creature, like, and then once there's something good under this, just one thing, then you're kind of in free roll territory where even if it dies, later, you're still going to end up being pretty happy about kind of the results.
Yeah, I'm not worried about them destroying it. That will happen. I mean, enchantments are generally the least interactable, permanent type. So
yeah.
So you're saying that if I'm behind or ahead, as long as I have some semblance of a board presence, then this makes life really difficult for my opponent.
Yeah, as long as you both have creatures. Mm-hmm. So the kind of fail case on this is that, like, I had an opponent play it where they had 1 creature in play, and I had like 3 creatures in play, and I had a bounce spell, so I bounced their creature. This went away and got nothing. But that's not, I think, going to be the typical case. Like, imagine they have, just for simplicity's sake, they have a 5/5 and a 3/3, and you have out like 2 2/2s, and you play this. Like, assuming nothing's flying, like, that's pretty good position. What are they doing to get around that?
Right, because your chump blocks become
edicts. And then once at the beginning of your end step, if a player has no creatures, so you can chump down to 0 creatures on their turn, untap and play 2 creatures and keep it going. Or if there's something really good under it and it pops and comes back with 2 +1/+1 counters, like, that's pretty good too. On balance, it would, I think this card is gonna do pretty well. You just have to make sure you have enough creatures, and it's really strong if you can play it in like a sack deck and start actually like really, really utilizing it. But even in just like a normal like black-green deck, no sacrifice cards, I think Sothera the Super Void is good. I would give this card an A-. Like, even if you're behind, as long as you can chump, this card is still going to be pretty strong. Okay.
I'll go B+ on Sothera just for those edge cases where, I don't know, they have a flyer and you have some stuff on the ground and it doesn't do that much. Just those weird cases. But most of the scenarios that you describe, Luis, are very typical for limited. We both have a few creatures. Like, that's kind of the default board state for limited. So if it excels in those spots, then I mean, that's going to do really well.
And for the most part, they can't get rid of there's cards like this where, like, imagine a card that's like, an enchantment. All your creatures have +3/+3, like a strong card, but you play it and then they kill your 2 creatures and then they run you over. Mm-hmm. That doesn't really work with this, because if they kill your 2 creatures, they then lose 2 creatures, assuming they're not exiling or bouncing, which can happen.
Right. This is the type of card that would be really good against like black-red and stuff too, that are trying to really kill your stuff. Last black card is Alpha Stone Chosen, which is 3 black for a 3/3 legendary human cleric at Mythic. It has ward, discard a card at random. So a little upgrade there on that ward. And then it has void. Whenever it attacks, if you have void, defending player loses half their life, rounded up.
I've had the option to take this a few times in draft. I've declined. I played against it. Hasn't been particularly good. Like, if you can get void going and attack with it and they lose like 10 life and then they block and kill this, like the more life they lose, the higher they were starting, and the less it matters that they're losing life to a degree. And it's just a 3/3. By the time this attacks, it's probably not doing great in combat. The ward discard a card at random is punishing, but
yeah, it's just interesting that it feels like you're put into a corner if you're the one playing Alpha Rail, because you're the one that paid 5 mana for a 3/3 with no other like combat related abilities. And if you're going to attack, it is going to get blocked, in which case the ward doesn't matter. You know, it feels like this is the type of card that you could get one attack in and get that big hit. But if you're throwing away 5 mana and a card, most of the time you wouldn't do that. You know, you wouldn't say like, okay, I'm going to take you from 14 to 7. It's a lot of damage. I get it. But then you just rip up the card. That's not normally a thing. I just don't think people are incentivized to play into the ward ability. Like this card could just sit there and you wouldn't care. It's a bad blocker and it's not even a good attacker. I would be down on Alpha Rail Stone Chosen. The stats are just too low to make my opponent react to this in a meaningful way.
Yeah, I agree.
D?
I would give it a D. Like, I mean, it's not like completely unplayable. You could obviously put the card in your deck, but I don't think it's a good card.
That moves us to red. First card is called Devastating Onslaught. This is red XX for a sorcery at Mythic Rare. And it says create X tokens that are copies of target artifact or creature you control. Those tokens gain haste until end of turn. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. So mana wise, we can do 3 mana to copy a thing for now, or 5 mana to copy 2 things. Or I shouldn't say 2 things. 2 copies of 1 thing is how it works, right? Do I have to target it?
Oh yeah, you do. I think the sweet spot on this is probably
is it 5?
7 mana, where you're making 3 copies. And the problem I have with it is, okay, so you want to just make 3 copies of your best thing. Well, if your best thing isn't very good, then that's just not that impressive. But if your best thing is really good, like it's a 7 mana spell that works when you have a good creature in play or a good artifact in play. You don't want those two.
And then you want to target it and have them interact. Like,
yeah, I'm just not that stoked about all that.
This thing just kind of stinks. I mean, you lose these. Like they just go away. It's like a temporary thing. There's probably a few combos, but I just don't like any of the dynamics. I don't like, well, if I have a really good thing, then I need to try to win extra by doing Devastating Onslaught. And then I actually risk losing if my opponent kills the thing that they wanted to kill anyway. Like none of this lines up with the dynamics that really make for amazing cards. I would start off very low on Devastating Onslaught. Like, with the exception that it could do some cool things that you probably wouldn't be able to do with really any other card in the set. It may even be able to steal some wins that you wouldn't be able to get, unless you only had a card like this. Maybe you were at parity and then you started to fall a little bit behind and then you ripped Devastating Onslaught. You got to cast it for 7 mana on a pretty decent creature and all of a sudden you just stole the game from them. Okay, fine. I'll give you that. But I mean, like I'd be drafting this at like the D level, I think.
Yeah, I agree too. You can obviously construct games where this card wins and is good, but I just don't think that that's going to be like the base case here.
Right. Next is Rust Harvester. This is red for a 1/1 artifact creature robot. It's rare. It has Menace, and it has an activated ability to tap and exile an artifact card from your graveyard. And for that, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Then it deals damage equal to its power to any target. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, this card's really strong.
Yeah, that really came around on that last little clause there.
Yeah, it looked pretty dorky to start with, but honestly, I think Rust Harvester is just pretty good.
Yeah. So how much of a build around do you want to lean into? Because you not only need some number of artifacts in your deck, but they also have to make their way to the graveyard, which usually means you just need a whole bunch of artifacts in your deck.
I would barely call this a build around. Like, obviously, it's got some elements of that, but I would just say as long as you have like an artifact dense deck, like it's fine. Like, which is to be clear, most decks that show up in this format. like in like red black or red blue. Like I think red white maybe you would miss sometimes. You wouldn't play this in red green that often, but I bet you take a random blue red or red black deck, it's going to play Rust Harvester. It's going to be happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, I another way to view this would be if you get to activate it once, you're probably happy, right? Like you get to do 2 damage to something. You've upgraded to a 2/2 with Menace. You've probably poked in for 2 or 3 damage with your 1/1 Menace.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this card gets out of control really quickly. It's any target too. Like you can just start nugging your opponent.
Yeah. And I mean, I was setting like what I was thinking would be a reasonable floor. The ceiling's really high. Yeah. I like B for Rust Harvester, or
I like B. I would think even B plus. Like
if you
I feel like this isn't a card so much that you play on turn 1 and is a huge threat, but I imagine if you play this card on like turn 4 alongside another card, your opponent's going to be like, oh, this is going to be bad. Like I need to do something about this.
Right. Yeah, I would put the build around tag on it just because you do have to have some number of artifacts. Like if you're just playing a red deck that doesn't have that many, this is going to suffer.
I just don't think that's going to come up too often, but certainly could.
Next is weapons manufacturing. It's kind of that's a name. 1 and a red for an enchantment at rare. It says, whenever a non-token artifact you control enters, create a colorless artifact token named Munitions with, when this token leaves the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target.
Yeah, this card's sick.
Cool. But it doesn't provide you a way to have it leave the battlefield.
I think this card is a build around D, where like you're not really going to put this card in your deck most of the time, but there are definitely some dreams here. If you have an artifact heavy deck with a lot of sack outlets, like this card goes off really hard. Like
definitely.
If you have the 2 mana 3/2 that just sacks to surveil 1, like in a deck with a decent amount of artifacts, if that combo means every time you play an artifact, you get to surveil and deal 2 to any target. That's sick. At the pre-release, Caroline and her friend Maxwell were playing 2-Headed Giant, and I was helping them build, and they opened 2 weapons manufacturing and built like a teamer deck with 2 of these and like a ton of sack stuff, and like it was such a fun deck. It
That's
really
cool.
I was jealous.
So you said build around D for weapons manufacturing?
For this to be good, you have to have not only a high density of artifacts, but also a bunch of ways to sack them, and it feels like that's like a lot to ask, but it's possible. This is going on my watch list. I'm going to try this one. I don't want to advocate anyone else do it, but I do think that there's a chance that this card is actually like pretty strong.
It looks really cool. Next is Pain for All. This is 2 and a red for an enchantment aura. It's rare. It enchants a creature you control. When it enters, enchanted creature deals damage equal to its power to any other target. And whenever enchanted creature is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to each opponent. Wow. So if you land this, it's sorcery speed, 3 mana, has to target a creature you control. But if you land it, it's a bite.
It's just bite straight up, and ends up with a really punishing enchantment where they just take that much damage every time they do something to it. So,
that's pretty cool. That's a lot.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think that Pain for All is a pretty strong card. Just a good removal spell if you're heavy red with some pretty significant upside. Like I can imagine, it's also, since it's any target, it's not even like a bite. Like it can hit players. You put this on a 4/4, nug them down from like 12 to 8, then attack them with it. And it's like, what am I supposed to do?
What are they supposed to do? Yeah, really difficult. Huh. I like that. That's a lot of upside. Would you give it into the B range? Like, would it be a B minus?
Yeah. I think just calling it a B is probably
maybe
good, honestly.
Maybe a B removal spell with upside. It's a little slow, but yeah. All right. Pain for All. That's an interesting one. Next is Possibility Technician. This is 2 and a red for a 3/3 Kavu Artificer at rare. And it says, whenever this creature or another Kavu you control enters, exile the top card of your library. For as long as that card remains exiled, you may play it if you control a Kavu. And then, as you may have guessed, this does have warp, and the warp cost is 1 and a red. That's pretty cool. 3 mana, 3/3 draws you a card-ish.
I had an opponent play 2 of these, and that's really gross because each one sees the other, triggers multiple times. Like it goes off. But even just by itself, it's pretty similar to like just warp draw a card. Like you don't always draw the card, but you get a pretty good chance at doing so, or ETB draw a card rather, and you can warp it so you can do it twice. So
and it will remember the card from before. Like if I warp it, but I don't play the card, but then I just play this, will it know?
Yeah, as long as this is it's exiled, you can play it if you control a Kavu. It doesn't actually care which Kavu you play.
So they kind of come back into the scene once you get another Kavu down. Yeah, this seems strong to me. I mean, it's relatively straightforward, but it's also relatively strong. I mean, this looks like a B.
Yeah, I like B for Possibility Technician. It's a really good value card.
Warmaker Gunship is another spacecraft. This one's 2 and a red for a 4/3 artifact spacecraft. This one's rare. And it says when this spacecraft enters, it deals damage equal to the number of artifacts you control to target creature an opponent controls. And then, of course, it has station. If you get it up to 6 charge counters, which is like on the low end, it becomes a 4/3 with flying.
Yeah, I like this card a lot. It's really strong. Like it basically is 3 mana kill a thing, leave a pretty relevant body in play.
Yeah, I like that.
It's just not that hard to get that going, honestly.
And it counts itself, right? So you're getting spotted the first one, and then it's just any other artifacts up that count.
Yeah. So it's not hard for it to deal 2 or 3 damage, which is all you really need it to do. And later in the game, it can deal even more. So yeah. I like B+ for Warmaker Gunship. It is a bit of a build around for sure.
Yep.
But I found it to be pretty impressive. And that's the kind of vehicle that I think is good.
Yeah, same. Especially the ones that affect the board directly like that. So B+ for Warmaker Gunship. Next is Memorial Vault. This is 3 and a red for an artifact at rare. Has an activated ability. Tap it and sacrifice another artifact. And if you do, it says exile the top X cards of your library, where X is 1 plus the mana value of the sacrifice artifact. You may play those cards this turn. So if you sack a 3-drop, you get to exile 4 cards, and you can like play a land and then play 1 or 2 of those spells or whatever. Huh.
Yeah. I mean, it's a interesting card because it costs 4 and you have to sack things with actual costs. So I'm not super high on this one.
Because you're giving up like stuff you paid for.
Well, you're paying 4 for this, and then you'll see sack something that costs 3. You get to exile 4 cards, which is a lot. You know, and maybe you'll play 2 of those 4 cards. You're probably not playing 3 of them, but you did spend 4 plus 3, and then now you have a window where you have to play the cards too. It's not even like you just draw 4 cards.
It's a relatively narrow window, yeah.
I can definitely see this card being good, and I can imagine games where it's awesome, but it looks pretty clunky. Like this is like a little bit like weapons manufacturing that takes like a lot of work to get going. But the difference is weapons manufacturing gives you a bunch of onboard stuff. It just deals 2 to a bunch of things.
Right.
This, if all goes according to plan, you just spent a lot of mana to draw cards, and this format has a lot of ways to draw cards in it. I don't think you need to be doing that.
Yeah. Also, you know, it's really worth noting that like you want to have a board state, right? So if you're going to sacrifice that board state to draw cards, the idea is that you're going to then replay those cards to have a board state. And so it's a little bit goes against itself to sacrifice the board state that you have to try to build out a better one. It's very costly. It's also risky in this case because if you don't hit the things that you need to, then it doesn't work at all. You might just get like a land or, some spells that are more like situational or something like that. It's interesting that it's not sorcery speed. You could theoretically sacrifice another artifact on their turn, and if you had any instants or something, you could play them. Yeah, I can't really find a place where I'm in love with Memorial Vault. It is powerful. Like I look at it and I'm like, okay, well, I could start to sacrifice stuff I don't need anymore. If you sacrifice a token, is it just 1 card then?
Yeah, X+1.
So there's something there. Like this is powerful. It just doesn't really seem to be the best way to go about getting cards. I would start off low on it. I would give it a D.
I would give it a build around D, exactly where I was going.
Tannic Steadfast Second is next. It's 2 red for a 3/5 legendary Kavu pilot at Mythic rare. And it says, other creatures you control have haste, and artifact cards and red creature cards in your hand have warp 2 and a red. This is the card I opened, by the way, in my draft. And I took it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is a pretty reasonably strong card.
Yeah. I mean, I like the stats. 4 mana, 3/5 gives everything else haste is like pretty sweet. And then I don't know. I haven't really figured out I haven't played with it yet, but I don't really know if giving my red creatures and artifacts warp 2 is like so great. You know, it really does feel like many of the warp cards were very much designed towards you get this thing temporarily, but it kind of works with warp. So the ones that don't have warp naturally often won't have that. You know, they'll just be like, I'm a creature and now I'm gone, you know, that kind of thing.
Right. Like warping in a lot of the cards in this set doesn't do anything.
Kind of just doesn't do anything.
I mean, this has haste. So that's why, you know, saying that, but
yeah. I mean, when I took it, I wasn't thinking it looked like a total bomb, but it seemed interesting and somewhat powerful. I was thinking like B or B plus for Tanic Steadfast second. Yeah. Okay. Nova Hellkite is next. Ooh. It's 3 red for a 4/5 dragon at rare. It's got flying and haste. And when this creature enters, it deals 1 damage to target creature an opponent controls. And it does actually naturally have warp for 2 and a red. That's nice. Wow, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, this card is good. 5 mana, 4/5 flying haste, great. Ping for 1, great. Warp to get a free at an earlier attack plus another ping in, also great. Yeah. Like I'm in for all of these things. So Nova Hellkite just looks like an A- to me. Just tons of pressure. Sets up the ability if you get like a 2 or a 3 for 1. Just there's nothing really nothing to dislike about this card.
Yeah, A- for Nova Hellkite. Next, and our last red card is Terminal Velocity. This is 4 red for a sorcery. It is rare. It says you may put an artifact or creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. That permanent gains haste, and when this permanent leaves the battlefield, it deals damage equal to its mana value to each creature. And at the beginning of your end step, sacrifice this permanent.
So it's basically like a Through the Breach that also it blows up at the end of turn. Like it also deals damage equal to its cost. And you can put artifacts into play. Mm-hmm. I don't think this card is good. Like it costs 6 already. Are you cheating something in bigger than 6? Or are you kind of using it as like, this is a sweeper that cost me 6 mana and my best card.
Right.
and it doesn't work if I don't have something big. So
right.
I'm not really in for any of that stuff. This looks like an F to me.
Yeah, this does not look good. Yeah, the cost is, I mean, if this was 3 and a red, you could start to see some scenarios where you could really like take advantage of it in limited, but then it starts to get too good outside of it. So F for Terminal Velocity. That moves us to green. Our first card is called Frenzied Baloth. This is green for a 3/2 beast at rare. It can't be countered. It has trample and haste. It says creature spells you control can't be countered and combat damage can't be prevented. Wow, that is a lot of text that doesn't really do that much.
It's very true.
It is a 2 mana, technically 3/2 trample haste, which is fine. Basically, all the other text is like very narrow niche stuff that doesn't come up in limited very often. I'm not in love here, Luis. The mana cost makes this very difficult. Anything with 2 toughness that costs GG, I'm already going to be kind of down on. Even if I like trample and haste, that's a cool thing that does hit hard.
Yeah, I think that you would basically put this in your deck if you're an aggressive green deck and have a decent amount of forest, like 9 or 10 is fine. And even 9 is okay. Mm-hmm. And you use it as a 2 mana, 3/2 trample haste. The uncounterable stuff, the combat damage stuff doesn't come up that often. So this is a C. Like you would just put this in your deck and it's fine. Yes. If this is the sort of thing you want, but you're not taking this like at rare level, as it were.
Right. Next is Bioengineered Future. This is 1 green for an enchantment. It is rare. It says when this enchantment enters, create a lander token, and each creature you control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it for each land that entered the battlefield under your control this turn.
Yeah. I actually think that Bioengineered Future is basically enough.
Oh, okay. Explain.
So for this to work, you have to have this in play. You have to have played a land, and then if you play a creature, it gets a +1/+1 counter. 1. If you've cracked your lander and then have played 2 lands this turn, you play a creature, maybe you get 2 +1/+1 counters. But every turn where you don't both play a land and a creature, this card doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it just gets you the very slow ramp.
Sure, there's the dreams of like play land number 6, sack my lander, play 2 creatures. They both get 2+1/+1 counters. But I've seen this card in play and it's done mostly nothing. Yes, it makes a lander, so it's like not the end of the world, but I just don't think it's very good.
Okay, so you're saying, because I was looking at it like I pay my mana, I get my lander, it's a slow ramp, whatever, but then it leaves behind like a relevant ability. We won't call it devastating, but a relevant ability. But you're saying, yeah, but are you really going to pay 5 mana to get a land into play and then have this ability that works some percentage of the time, but some percentage of the time it doesn't? That is a tough picture. Like it feels like either side of that deal, we're not really getting out very far ahead.
Yeah, you're just gonna hate this card, Marshall. If you ever play this card, you're gonna be like, the setup costs. The setup cost.
So what would you give it?
I think it's basically an F. I mean, I don't know. I'm probably just not going to put this card in my deck, I think is going to be my strategy.
Okay. I would give it like a D. I mean, there's something here, right?
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's a D and maybe some like pretty aggressive.
Just a creature heavy deck would be fine, I think.
Yeah. Maybe like a really dedicated landfall deck that's really good at doing the thing could make use of this, but like that is just not going to be the case.
I mean, look, if all you do is just curve creatures after you play this, like it's okay, right? You go land, play a 4-drop, land, play a 5-drop. Like they're each picking up +1/+1 counters. That's good. Maybe not quite worth the card at that point, but you're getting pretty close.
Okay, so you paid 3 mana to get a lander and 2 +1/+1 counters over the next 2 turns, and that's like a decent case.
And I'm actually outlining, maybe not like the literal best case, but like
no, not the literal best case.
Closer to best case than,
yeah. Or like, I mean, this card is good with you social engineering the enchantment that makes a 2/2, which that card is good by the way. Okay. I've now played it a bunch of times.
Okay. No,
because you play a land and now you make a 3/3 or whatever. Like I guess. So we call it a build around D. If you go deep in the landfalls deck, there's something you can do here. But my point mainly is that this card is a lot worse than you might think.
Definitely.
The dream, I don't think is very big, and the fail case is.
Yeah, I mean, I just outlined quite a good case scenario, and I'm kind of shrugging at the result from it. Next is Sledge Class Seed Ship. This is 2 and a green for an artifact spacecraft at rare. It just has station, meaning that it doesn't do anything when you cast it or ETB. It needs 7 or more charge counters to become a 4/5 flying with whenever the spacecraft attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. I'm just not interested in this one, Luis. You could convince me otherwise, but reading it, I'm like, nah, it doesn't check that box of, doing anything when you cast it. And it still seems like 7 charge counters is still kind of a lot.
The dream scenario is like you play this on 3, turn 4 you charge it, turn 5 you charge it, and you attack and you put something big into play. And it's like, how many ways can that go wrong? Well, how much time do you have? You know, so it's just not what I think you want to do.
No, I would give it a D.
Yeah.
Next is Terra Symbiosis. This is 2 and a green for an enchantment. It's rare. It says whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, you may draw that many cards. Do this only once each turn. I mean, that's a significant payoff if you've got that deck.
This one I'm less down on because this one, when it works, it really works. Like this really goes hard.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things with counters in the set. Like it's not that, impossible to consider this working out. So I think Terra Symbiosis is like a build around B, where if you can swing it, like if you have the deck for it, this card is gonna pop. Like I am scared if I'm playing against green white and they play this early, and it's like things are gonna go kind of bad for me. I think at some point here.
Yeah, it's cool that you get the amount of counters equal, or the cards equal to the counters, but really just one is fine. Like if you just put a counter on the thing and start drawing cards, it's gonna feed itself. Next is Ice Till Explorer. This is 2 green for a 2/4 insect scout. It's rare. It says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. You may play lands from your graveyard, and it has landfall, mill a card. Oh man, that's sweet. What the
Strip
heck?
Mine's in this set. Strip Mine's in Stellar Sights.
Is it really? Like we're going to be reviewing Strip Mine today?
Oh yeah, and people have already done this. I'm sure you get those two cards in play, like like you just get to strip mine them twice a turn until they lose. Like the biggest challenge is like, are you going to run out of cards because you mill for one every time you play a land?
yeah, because it does mill you for the card, so you've got a bit of a timer on you. Strip mine aside, how good is Ice Till Explorer just as a magic card?
Sure, because like if you play it, you're not going to have lands in your graveyard right away. Most of the time, like some of the time you might, of course, but like a lot of the time that's not going to be the case. And if you were to play this card, play a land, mill a land, replay that land, like you are starting to get lands. The mill can add up in a bad way though. Like you do eventually run into that problem.
You really do, right? Like that's a real thing. Because like you play one from your hand, you mill a card, maybe you mill a land, you play it from the graveyard because you can, and then you mill another card like that. If you're milling card or two every turn, it does start to add up.
Yeah, 2 cards a turn goes quickly. The thing that's good though is by the time it's an issue, you just can stop playing lands and you probably have 9 lands in play or 7 or 8 lands in play or whatever. So I don't think that's a big part of it. I probably try this in the green black deck. It's probably like a C+. And then if you ever, of course, get strip mine, then I'd always go for that combo.
A+, yes. Okay, next is Loading Zone. This is 3 and a green for an enchantment at rare. It says if one or more counters would be put on a creature, spacecraft, or planet you control, twice that many of each of those kind of counters are put on it instead. And this is funny. It has warp for green. So you can have like one turbo turn. Does this just read like pay green and you can get a spacecraft in the air?
Yeah, or like pay a green and get 2 or 3 +1/+1 counters from it overall.
Okay.
So this looks like another build around like D, where
this looks
maybe
bad.
build around C, where like if you're going nuts with +1/+1 counters, you know, I think that this card could do something. I wouldn't play this to crew my spaceship better. I don't think that's a very good use of the card. But I could see some white-green decks that just have all of these rare enchantments and are just going crazy. But I don't know. So far, I feel like white-green actually just wants to curve out. And cards like Loading Zone, sometimes they can be part of it, but looks like often it won't be. So this build around likes D for me. I don't know. I'm just not that into it, you know?
No, and on decks like that, like +1/+1 counter specific decks, you know, your slots are very precious. You really need to have every card that cares about or produces +1/+1 counters, and you need creatures. Like you need things to put those counters on. And if you just throw Loading Zone in your deck, it's an enchantment. It doesn't do anything other than augment that whole system. It needs to be one of the very few cards that aren't a creature or don't care about or produce +1/+1 counters. And usually those spots are reserved for removal spells. So yeah, I'd give build around D for Loading Zone. It is just hard to imagine that thing being amazing. It feels a bit win more. Next is Might Form Harmonizer. This is 2 green for a 4/4 insect druid at rare. It says it has landfall double the power of target creature you control until end of turn. And this interestingly does have warp for 2 and a green. So warp it, play a land, double trouble something.
Yeah, I think this card is mostly fine as a 4-mana 4/4 that often can like attack as an 8/4. It's kind of nice, but it's not really like it. Again, this isn't a bomb. This is like you play this because you just need a decent statted thing. The temporary power boost isn't going to go crazy or anything. So I think it's like a B-, just like a solid creature.
Yeah, B- seems totally fine. You know, if you have Trampler or something, it gets better, double strike, etc. Next is Oroboroid. This is 2 green for a 1/3 plant worm. It's mythic rare. And it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, put X +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, where X is this creature's power, and it's a 1/3. Nice.
Yeah. This card, I mean, it doubles itself every turn. Like,
oh wow, that's gross.
Like, so you play this, it immediately becomes a little bit bigger, and then you next turn it's a 2/4, then it becomes a 4/6. Like it just keeps going up.
Right.
And I
your
think
creatures
that
do too.
Yeah, and the rest of your squad does too. I mean, look, the way this is going to play out a lot of the time is like you cast this card and give your whole team +1/+1, and if they can't deal with it, they're in a lot of trouble.
Totally. I mean, that seems to be the low case for this, right? Is you play it, you get the trigger because you kind of wait for an opening, and then they have to kill it. Like, and then they do. Let's say they do. So you got a +1/+1 counter on all your stuff, and you ate a removal spell from them that was probably a pretty decent one. That's your worst case. Now I should clarify. Yeah, best case is you get to untap with it again or whatever. I should clarify the actual worst case, and the thing that you need to be careful of is being patient with it. Make sure you can play it when you actually are fairly certain that you can get the trigger. If you play it into 5 red and black mana or something, they're going to say, before you go to combat, and they're going to kill this thing. And that, even then it's a 1-for-1. It's not the end of the world. If you don't have anything else to do, maybe that's just the decision you make. But if you can find any way to have 2 creatures on the board or 3 creatures on the board and get this to combat, which is not difficult, you're going to be in the driver's seat straight away. And like we said, if it doesn't die that turn cycle, then it's GG.
Yeah,
I really like it.
I would give it an A.
I would too.
If they kill it often, you still got a pretty good boost. If they don't kill it, you win the game. Sounds A level to me. Like even there's, of course, there's games where you're behind where it doesn't do that much. Mm-hmm. You also have the trick of in the later game playing this and then pumping it and then going to combat.
Totally,
and that can be a total beating too.
Yeah, just give it +3/+3, and then it's just again game over. All right, last green card is called Famished Worldsire. It costs 8 mana. It's 5 green for a 0/0 Leviathan at Mythic Rare. It has Ward 3. Pretty good. I mean, this is an 8 mana card, so like maybe that isn't quite as relevant, but still Ward 3 is annoying. And it has Devour Land 3. So I'm just going to read what it says because it's kind of a one-off here. It says, as this creature enters, you may sacrifice any number of lands. It enters with 3 times that many +1/+1 counters on it. So 2 lands is a 6/6, etc. When this creature enters, look at the top X cards of your library where X is this creature's power. Put any number of land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. Can you say all in, Luis? All of them?
I mean, you don't need to sack all your lands, but you should probably at the very minimum sack enough lands that you can look through the whole rest of your deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then get every land into play. So you never draw a land again.
Right.
I guess it's not even basic because by the time you do this, they don't care if you get not basics. So it's like you just cast this, you get all your lands into play. And I think that's going to work out pretty nicely.
It's pretty good. And you are sacrificing enough in that scenario so that this thing presumably would be a lethal attacker, right? Like if you have
hard not to be.
Right, it's kind of hard not to be, right? If you're paying 8
if you're
for
casting
this,
you can make it a 24/24 most of the time.
Right. Oh man, and go through your library and get all the rest of your lands. And then imagine, and they go on the battlefield, right? So like if you have something that has landfall, you'd get all the triggers at once.
If you have Tanuka or whatever, the red-green thing, you can just nug them for about 1 million or as much lands as you have, I guess.
Right. So the question, this is really cool, but at the end of the day, you get a huge, dumb creature, right? It is just Ward 3. Like that's its only, onboard ability. It doesn't have trample. It doesn't have landfall itself. It is 8 mana. And you get the privilege of most of the time clearing out all or most of the rest of the lands in your library, which is that
I would imagine all. It's pretty hard to not have that be the case. I mean, I guess like it's almost impossible for you not to get every land in your deck because you get to put as many as you want, and you're looking at 24 cards or 21 maybe if you use an accelerant.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems like all of them to me. So I think this card's probably pretty good.
Okay.
You need to ramp into it. The blue-green decks have been totally fine at ramping. My favorite deck I've drafted so far had like Extinguisher Battleship, the 8 mana battleship that we're going to review today. That's like a Wrath, and like the 0 Point Ballad, and like another, and the blue black Wrath. So I just had 1 million Wraths, and then just like you can just cast cards that cost tons of mana in when you're in that spot. So I think that I think Famished World Sire is doable. I would put it in red green or blue green most of the time.
I
And
think
I would
so
give it
too.
like a build around B. Like if you cast this card, I bet it's going to do pretty well for you.
I think so too. It just does enough stuff. It is a mythic that costs 8, and you may think that the body that you get is more than just large, and it's not. It is kind of just a big goof. So keep that in mind. But I like build around B for Famished World Sire, or just put it into one of those 2 color pairs that you mentioned. That moves us to white. Our first card is Hard Light Containment. This is white for an enchantment aura. It's rare. And it says, enchant artifact you control. When this aura enters, exile target creature an opponent controls until this aura leaves the battlefield, and enchanted permanent has ward 1. So there's a big gatekeep here, right? Which is that you have to have an enchantment to aura up here. But if you do, I mean, it makes it a little harder to kill. It's a 1-mana Oblivion Ring for creatures.
I'm not sure. I've seen this card be good, but this card's pretty all in. Like the one of the better places to put it is actually Nutrient Block because it's indestructible. Though then you're locking up that card for a long time because you're not going to get to sack the block to draw a card. But imagine if you put this on one of your creatures and they kill it, like it's pretty bad for you. So I think Hard Light Containment is probably a card you should play in your white artifact decks, but it is definitely a card I'd consider siding out against people with the wrong kinds of removal.
Yeah.
And you just have to understand that sometimes you're just going to get completely blown out because, whatever your intention is about putting this on like a non-creature artifact in order to be a little safer, at some point you're going to have to put this on a creature.
Yes.
And if they do have a removal spell, then you are getting 2-for-1 pretty badly. So
yeah,
B for Hard Light Containment, but it definitely has its drawbacks.
Yeah, build around B for Hard Light Containment. It's there. Has its drawbacks, as Louis said. Next is Lightstall Inquisitor. This is white for a 2/1 Angel Wizard. It is rare. It has Vigilance on a 2/1. And it says, when this creature enters, each opponent exiles a card from their hand, and you may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. Each spell cast this way costs 1 more to cast. Each land this way, played this way, enters tapped. Dude. That's pretty cool.
1 mana 2/1 that taxes them for a mana at some point, whether that's by playing a tap land or playing an overpriced spell. I think this card is fine. It's a C. Like in Constructed likes one mana 2/1s a lot better than Limited does because these get outclassed pretty quickly. But yeah, I mean you would play this in your aggressive deck for sure.
Yeah, it's weird because there's nothing to not like here. Like it's all good news. It's all just a little less than you'd hope, right? Like the 1 mana tax, sure. The tapped, sure. The fact that this is a 2/1, you're like, okay. It has Vigilance, which seems a little strange on a 1 toughness guy, but like,
right. Basically, you're like red-white or white-blue decks will probably play this. Maybe some of the white-black decks, depending on like how. Yeah, well, white-black's actually often going to play this, and then I guess white is just aggressive. I guess on all colors, white-blue is probably the least aggressive of these,
okay.
and funnily enough, white-red is also a little less aggressive than in most sets. I mean, it still obviously has a lot of aggro elements to it, but crewing spaceships is not the most aggressive thing in the world.
Right.
So I think this card's just okay. It's a C. It's nothing special.
C for Lightstall Inquisitor. Next is Lumen Class Frigate. This is 1 and a white for an artifact spacecraft. This is rare. And it has no ETB, but it does have 2 station levels. So the first one is just 2 or more. And it says other creatures you control get +1/+1. And then if you get it to 12 or more charge counters, it becomes a 3/5 flying lifelink. They had to make this one higher because it does pump up your creatures. So you're kind of paying the tax for that. But this seems great to me, right? I mean 2 mana.
It's really close to just 2 mana. Your creatures all have +1/+1.
Right.
Like you just have to have 1 creature.
Right.
And then of course that makes the rest of the crewing pretty trivial. And a 3/5 flying lifelink's no joke either. So I like A- for Lumen Class Frigate. Like you don't need that much for this card to be good.
No, and these type of abilities tend to perform quite well. A- for Lumen Class Frigate. Next is Sunstar Chaplain. This is 1 and a white for a 3/2 human cleric at rare. It says at the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. And then it also has the activated ability to and remove a +1/+1 counter from a creature you control to tap target artifact or creature. Have you got a sense yet, Luis, for the end step 2 tapped creatures thing? Is that a thing?
It's not the hardest thing in the world. I've seen like the gain 2/1 be on a lot, like the
3
red
drop
5/5 that draws 2, discard your hand, draw 2. Like I've found that card to be pretty good.
Okay.
So I think overall, like that mechanic isn't the hardest to pull off now.
Okay. I mean, this is pretty good in that, if that's the case, right? It's an overstated 2 drop and the counters definitely matter. It can be on anything, including itself.
I mean, I would be always happy to play this card, and it's pretty, even if you're not triggering it all the time, it's still pretty good. And then you are going to trigger it enough to make it give you a little bit of extra bonus. Plus the tapping things is pretty relevant too. Like that's not an irrelevant ability. Like it will be able to let you like kind of win late game stuff. So I like this best in an aggressive deck, of course, where you have a decent amount of creatures, but yeah, there's a lot of places it would fit. Any white deck is probably okay with it at the very least. Yeah,
the floor seems high enough, and then it feels like you could get an engine going, right? Where you like pay 2, remove a counter, tap a thing that enables an attack, and then now you get another counter back, and you can sort of just keep rolling like that. Yeah, I would give B for Sunstar Chaplain.
Yeah,
seems good. Next is Cosmogrand Zenith. This is 2 and a white for a 2/4 human soldier. It's Mythic rare, and it says whenever you cast your second spell each turn, choose 1. You've got 2 options. You can create 2 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens, or put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, this card has an army in the can and then starts making that army bigger. So the first time, often you choose the soldiers, and then you kind of just spam +1/+1 counters every time after that. Though in the late game, you might just go play this, play a spell, pump my whole team right away.
Totally.
But
wow,
you're also not really losing out ever because it's a 3-mana 2/4. So
right.
Cosmogrand Zenith is awesome. I would give this an A-. Just a great card to build around.
Same. And I would just say like you should play this such that you play this in something like it would be rare for me to want to run this out, without having that second spell in the bag and get that trigger for sure. Cause then it's just like you get such a big advantage off of it. Next is Halia, Guided by Light. This is 2 and a white for a 3/3 legendary human soldier at rare. And it says whenever Halia or another creature or artifact you control enters, you gain a life. So 3 mana, 3/3, gain a life on basically anything relevant entering on your side. And then it says at the beginning of your end step, draw a card if you've gained 3 or more life this turn. And then it also has warp for white. So you warp it, you gain a life, and then you're trying to get 2 other triggers that turn to get the card.
Yeah, that's the idea.
Seems possible, not trivial, but it seems like you could do that every once in a while. Card seems really annoying. I mean, 3 mana.
It's also a 3 mana 3/3 like Soul Warden, which is pretty good.
That's really annoying in limited. Like it's like that life does add up, and it triggers off of itself, artifacts, or creatures that you control. But still,
yeah.
And then occasionally if you get an extra card off of it, or if you can set up the warp to do the card thing. Yeah, there's a lot to like here. This doesn't seem over the top powerful, but I would say B+ for Halia, Guided by Light. Like that's a really good card.
Just give it a B. I think, I think it is. It has definitely some good things going for it though.
Next is Pinnacle Star Cage. This is 1 white for an artifact at rare. It says, when this artifact enters, exile all artifacts and creatures with mana value 2 or less until this artifact leaves the battlefield. And then it has an activated ability of 6 white, 8 mana. Put each card exiled with this artifact into its owner's graveyard. Then create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token for each card put into the graveyard this way. Sacrifice this artifact. No, I mean, these cards always just seem too narrow for limited, right? It's mana value 2 or less is such a narrow band that this just kind of has like constructed sideboard written on it to me. And I don't think that the 8 mana thing changes that.
Yeah.
So I guess I would give it a sideboard grade because there are some matchups where it's going to do the thing. But I would give it like a sideboard C or C plus or something. This just doesn't seem very good to me. Too narrow.
I agree with you. I do think that there are some decks where it is pretty strong against, and the ability to play sticks and start and make a bunch of robots is pretty nice too. But the problem is when it's bad, you don't get either ability. So it's like, okay. So I would say Pinnacle Starcade sideboard C.
Yeah. Next is the Seriema. This is also 1 white. This is a legendary artifact spacecraft. It is rare. And it says, when it enters, search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle. And then it has station. If you get it to 7 charge counters or more, it becomes a 5/5 flying with other tapped legendary creatures you control have indestructible.
I mean,
how much does this hinge on having a target?
Almost entirely. Like I'd have to think like how good do your legends have to be before you're gonna snap this off? And the answer's got to be pretty good because a 3 mana crew 7 5/5 flying with basically not other text that your tapped legends are indestructible isn't really like that relevant of text means like that's just not good enough. And if for it to cantrip, you pay 3, you go get a card. It has to be a good card. There are some pretty good legends, but so far this card has not appealed to me. Every time I've seen it in a pack, I haven't really considered taking it. So it looks like a D to me. I suppose if you have a good enough thing to go get, maybe there's something, but you're giving up a lot of tempo to do that too.
What if I told you had Halia Guided by Light?
That probably wouldn't be enough for me to be like, yep, I guess I'm going to go get that,
So you need it to be like a bomb,
Yeah,
okay.
I would say so.
Yeah.
And even that, like Cosmic Grand Zenith, I guess is not actually a legend, but...
I know, I thought it was too.
I mean, it just looks like it. But I mean, it's something along those lines is probably more what we're talking about.
Okay, well, I'm going with your take on it because you've gotten to play with these, with spacecraft so far. So... low on the Seriema. I guess we're saying build around because we're not playing it unless we have that thing. And then then it's a C plus or a B minus or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. A little sad there. Next is a Stelly Reclaimer. This is 3 white for a 5/4 Angel Warrior at rare. It's got flying. And it says when this creature enters, return target non-creature non-land permanent card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast this creature. And you may be wondering, well, it's 5. It can also be 3. It has a warp cost of 2 and a white.
So for a 5 mana 5/4 that gets back a big non-creature is pretty nice. And then this can often be even a little bit better than that because you can also warp it and get a 3-drop back.
So what would that be? Like what?
Like, just an artifact, mostly like a cryogenic, pod or whatever, or a dubious delicacy, any of that kind of thing.
Okay, that's cool. And you get a 5/4 flying. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it. I would probably give it like a B plus.
Yeah, B plus for a Stelly Reclaimer. Next is Beyond the Quiet. 3 white for a sorcery. It's rare. It says exile all creatures and spacecraft.
It has a million wraths. Like it has Singularity Rupture, that's the blue-black wrath. It has Extinguisher Battleship, that's the artifact spacecraft wrath.
The black
It has
X
0-point Ballad, which is the black X wrath. It is like Litho Breaking as the deal 2 to everything. Like
wow.
It's kind of crazy how much they actually have in terms of wraths in this set.
Yeah, that is wild. And this one even nabs spacecraft, which you'd think, kind of like a vehicle or something where it doesn't normally get hit by the wrath, so it can kind of hang around and be relevant later. But this thing gets those too. So I guess this makes us answer the question of where are we at on 5 mana, both sides, kind of everything Wrath.
I like it. I'd give it an A. Like I think Wraths are good. I think the Wraths are good in this format, and there's a lot of incentive to put a bunch of stuff into play. So especially in best of one where they don't even know you have this card, I think it's going to end up being pretty good.
Do you downgrade it given the prevalence of other Wraths that people are kind of like, I don't want to get swept. I'll hold this one extra threat or whatever.
Not really. Like it look, it does get a little worse, but just in general, people are just not going to play around rare Wraths all that often, you know?
Okay. So A for Beyond the Quiet. I'll go A minus. Just if there's so many Wraths, I think people at least even subconsciously start to adjust a little bit. Last white card is called Exalted Sunborn. It's 3 white for a 4/5 angel wizard. It's mythic rare. It has flying and lifelink. So I'm already kind of in. It says if one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. And it has warp for 1 and a white. If you've got some incoming tokens, you can double them up for that turn. But but realistically, right, the meat and potatoes here, it's a 5 mana 4/5
5 mana 4/5 flying lifelink. I would give this an A minus. Or I'd just give it an A. I mean, it's just going to be good.
It's just going to be an A.
You don't need to be doing anything, but sure, if you have token making, that this card definitely gets better.
Yeah, this is the type of card that stabilizes even very difficult boards. The reason it doesn't get an A plus is because if they do kill it, it solves the problem, where A pluses usually leave behind some material or some life or something that means that even if they do kill it, you may still survive. But this is one step off of that. All right, blue. What does blue have here? Synthesizer Lab Ship. This is blue for an artifact spacecraft at rare. And it doesn't have an ETB, but it does have 2 levels of stationing. The first one is at 2 or more, and it says at the beginning of combat on your turn, up to 1 other target artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 2/2 and gains flying until end of turn, but not itself. And then if you get it up to 9 or above, it's a 4/4 flying vigilance. Does this cross the threshold of doesn't give us anything up front?
Probably good in like a blue-red or blue-white, like lots of little artifacts sort of deck, or like blue-white wants to play 2 spells in the same turn, so it likes cheap spells. Blue-black also can be pretty artifact heavy, but you want to be aggressive and artifact heavy so that when you station 2, it actually starts to do some good stuff, which is to make one of your like nutrient blocks a 2/2 flyer and start bashing. Or it also can start crewing the lab ship, which is funny.
Yeah.
I think that overall, the Synthesizer Leadership is not a card you should put in most decks, but in the deck that has lots of little artifacts and is kind of aggressive, yeah, this works nicely. So I would give it like a build around like B. Like you want it in those kind of decks, and that's about where you want it.
Man, it's so narrow. I would say build around C for a Synthesizer Lab Ship. That's just not impressive. I'm off it. Next is Consult the Star Charts. This is 1 and a blue for an instant at rare. It has Kicker for 1 and a blue, so you can pay 1 and a blue as you cast it. It says, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of lands you control. Put 1 of those cards into your hand. If this spell was kicked, put 2 of those cards into your hand instead. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Nice. That's a sweet little card draw spell.
Great card. 2 mana to draw a card, and not even draw a card, just like look at their top like 3 or 4, however many lands you have in play at the time. And then you can then pay another 2 mana to just get a second bite at the apple.
Yeah.
Sounds great to me.
That's really, really solid. I don't want to go crazy on a card like this, but I would have this like as a B minus.
I would just give it a B.
Okay.
I mean, it's a 2 mana impulse that you can also spend make it a 4 mana kind of dig through time. Like that's good flexibility. Yes, it's still ultimately a card selection spell / card draw spell, but it's cheap enough to use it early, and it's going to be good late too. It's just, I think, going to be a pretty good card overall.
Next is Emissary Escort. This is 1 and a blue for a 0/4 artifact creature robot soldier. It's rare. It says this creature gets +X+0, where X is the greatest mana value among other artifacts you control.
I like one so far. It's
Yeah.
frequently just like a 5/4, a 6/4 in the late game. And even just as like an 0/4 early, it can block, and then it quickly grows to like a 2/4 or 3/4. It's a cheap artifact. Just kind of does everything you want in these blue decks. So I would give it a B. I think the card's played well.
Yeah, that seems actually pretty powerful for just 2 mana. I guess that's what you can do when you have a rare mana symbol there, or rare symbol. Next is Moonlit Meditation. This is 2 and a blue for an enchantment aura at rare. It says enchant artifact or creature you control. The first time you would create 1 or more tokens each turn, you may instead create that many tokens that are copies of enchanted permanent. Come on.
I'm going to give this an F, and I don't think we need to spend a ton of time going into like why. It's just way too much setup, way too much. So F for Moonlit Meditation.
Yeah. Who's railing against setup costs now?
Yeah.
I mean, that thing's terrible. Next is Starfield Vocalist. This is 3 and a blue for a 3/4 human bard. At rare, it says if a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. And this thing also has warp for 1 and a blue to maybe get a little window.
You know, this was actually part of that double munitions deck I was talking about. It went off. But I think that this is probably going to be good enough a lot of the time, just because there's so many things that trigger off of stuff like this. So it's clearly a build around, but if you've got a couple good synergies with it, it's a 4 mana 3/4. You can warp it for 2 mana. Like, it's got some decent stats and flexibility. So I would be pretty in for Starfield Vocalist if I had a couple ways to combo with it.
And you assume that most decks will.
I think so. I mean, I'm not first picking this and just assuming it's going to work, but I think I would be happy enough to take this once I had a couple synergies with it and to just try to get for more. Like, it's good with landfall stuff. It's good with when you artifact enters the battlefield stuff, and there's just kind of a lot of all that.
Build around C+, B-.
I'd just give it a build around B. Like, when it's good, I think it'll be good.
Okay, I guess we are giving it a build around, so we can do that. Next is Menomenon. Menomenon, the right hand, 3 blue. Oh, it's a jellyfish advisor, Luis. It's a 3/4 legendary jellyfish advisor at rare. It's got flying. It says you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast artifact spells from the top of your library, and artifacts you control have tap, add blue. Spend this mana only to cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand.
No Urza here, not exactly.
Not quite.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 5 mana 3/4 flying. It's gonna draw you an extra card maybe every other turn, depending on how many. Probably a little bit less. Like, you don't have 20 artifacts in your deck usually, but when you have other card draw or surveil or ways to like manipulate the top of your deck, then this can draw you cards more consistently. Imagine you have this in play and you're like, okay, the top card's a land. Let's just warp my Star Breach Whale and surveil that to the bottom. Oh, and this artifact to the top, and then play it. Yeah. So a 5 mana 3/4 flying with the promise of a little bit of cards, add some mana. Your nutrient blocks and stuff can now tap for mana to cast things. Yeah, I'm good with Menomenon. Like, I would play this in most blue decks, I think.
I think so too. And certainly as a build around, it's a thing, right? If you're going to like try to jam as many artifacts into the deck as possible, then this card becomes really quite strong. I would give it a build around B+. Like, this is enough stats that you're not unhappy in any scenario, and it has the ability to really take over a game if you've built around it properly.
Yeah, I don't think I would have. I haven't cut this from a blue deck yet, but I've also, obviously when I drafted, I try to pick up more artifacts, but I think most decks be happy enough to play this card.
Quantum Riddler is next. This is 3 blue for a 4/6 Sphinx. It's mythic rare. It does have flying, and when it enters, you draw a card. Wow. And then it says, as long as you have 1 or fewer cards in hand, if you would draw 1 or more cards, you draw that many cards plus 1 instead, and it has warp for 1 and a blue?
Yeah. Is just like, you warp it, you draw a card, so it's 2 mana cycling, and then later you cast it as a 4/6 flying for 5, and you draw a card. This is just A-level territory, like, pretty easily, I think.
Wow, that's awesome.
So, and you also have the sub game. You probably, the first time you warp it, it won't be this, but the second time you want to cast it when you're at 1 card, so you just draw 2 cards immediately. So
right.
I wouldn't give this an A+, but it's just an A. Like, it's solid. I mean, big creature, lots of card advantage, Also, if this is in play and you have one card in hand at the start of your turn, like you're going to draw 2 cards on your draw step. So I don't think you're losing that game very often. So
right.
A for Quantum Riddler, really nice one.
Weft Walking is next. This is 4 blue for an enchantment. This one's Mythic. And it says, when this enchantment enters, if you cast it, shuffle your hand and graveyard into your library, then draw 7 cards. And the first spell each player casts during each of their turns may be cast without paying its mana cost. Is this a one-sided?
It's a really interesting card. So it's a one-sided time twister. You play this, you shuffle your hand in the graveyard and draw 7 cards. Your opponent doesn't do that. Then you probably pass the turn because you spent all your mana and you're not going to be able to play anything. Then on their turn, they get to play a spell for free. They get the first crack at the Omniscience effect, which both players, get to do. So on their turn, they get to then play their most expensive card for free and then cast something else. But then on your turn, you then get to play something for free as well. And you just drew 7 cards, now 8 because you drew for your turn. So you're probably in pretty good shape to be doing that.
Definitely.
So I haven't played with the card yet. I played against it twice, and it seemed pretty good to me. Because also, by the time you cast it, the fact that they get to play a spell for free first isn't that big of a deal because you're not casting this on turn 6. What you want to do is cast this as one of the last cards in your hand. You want to use up all your cards before you redraw. So you cast this, let's say turn 8. Your opponent could have played their biggest card anyway already.
Totally.
Like, they're probably not in a spot where like, wow, really could use mana to play this 10 drop. And you just got 7 new cards. So even in a scenario where they're like, okay, I untap, I play something, I kill the Weft Walking after playing a spell for free. Well, okay, I guess my 7 new cards are probably going to give me some ways to fight that. So
you think so? Yeah.
I think this is an A-. Like it redraws you a lot of cards.
Definitely.
Maybe a B+. Maybe a B+. It's a little. It has got some risk to it. I'm not going to say it doesn't.
Right. It has a little bit of risk with the ability to the opponent, but I agree it's marginal. It's mainly just I'm going to spend 6 mana, nothing's going to happen, and I'm going to say go. Right. Like that's hard. Like
that's usually gonna be the case.
Right. And so like if I told you it was 6 mana, draw 7 cards. If I told you it was 6 mana, draw 10 cards, right? But it's an enchantment, so it's sorcery speed. That's a tough pill to swallow, even if it is worth it on the other side. This definitely feels asymmetrical though with that second ability, and I like that. So I like B+ for Weft Walking. I would definitely run this card as a reload, especially in a deck that was removal heavy where I could keep the board stable, because this would just lock it up. I mean, this would just be done.
Yes, the biggest risk is if you're behind, you play this, on their turn they play something free, play another thing. You could get pretty far behind, but then you also get to play your best / most expensive spell of 8 cards for free. But if that's not enough to help you kind of stabilize, like even if you're not talking a sweeper, untap, play land number like 8 or 7 or whatever, play like a 5-drop for free, and then play 2 cheap spells. Like most of the time, I would imagine that gets you back at least into a plausible state. If not, like you were really in trouble, and maybe nothing was going to save you.
Exactly. I mean, you get to play your most expensive thing plus play a land, so you've probably got 7 mana to do the other 6 cards that you've got left. If you can't put together something there, it's mainly just that you're going to be dead before that happens. That's the risk. BB+ for Weft Walking. Really cool card. Wow. Last blue card is called Starwinder. It's 5 blue for a 7/7 Leviathan. It's rare. And it says, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw that many cards. And then this has warp for 2 blue. So if you've curved out, you warp this in and then send in the squad.
Yeah. So it's like for 4 mana, you can draw some cards if you're getting some creatures through, and then later you cast it as a 7 mana 7/7. And as you may, so you don't like deck yourself, but obviously you're going to hit, if you hit them with this, you're probably doing pretty well. I haven't so far thought this card was good. I didn't think it was good when I first read it, and then I played against it a few times, and like it's a 7/7 that basically makes it so whenever one of their creatures hits you, you lose the game. But I think that there's just like a lot of ways you can kind of deal with that.
And is the joke like with the warp to be like on 3 you play a 3 mana 2/2 flyer, and then on 4 you Starwinder warp, hit them for 2, draw 2 cards?
I mean, that's not even good though. That's
what I'm saying. Yeah.
I think that the warp is supposed to give some dreams like that. Probably not turn 4, but like maybe turn 5 or 6, where it's like you've gotten your setup. If you can combine this with the red 2/3 that gives haste and you warp it in, that now we're talking.
Oh, there you go.
But I think for the most part, it's like 4 mana to threaten to draw some cards. Then you play this on 7. It's very much a card where if you're winning, this card will definitely make you win the game. But I would prefer to have my cards to help take me from like parity or losing to winning, and this mostly doesn't do that. So I kind of think Starwinder's a D. Obviously, it's going to have some high end, but I don't know. I've seen it just be kind of mediocre so far.
All right, well, that's it for single color. But we do have our gold cards and then a few artifacts and lands and then our bonus sheet. So we'll start with our gold here. First one is called Space Time Anomaly. This is 2 blue white for a sorcery at rare. And it says target player mills cards equal to your life total. So you ideally have this kill them. And if it doesn't, or if it doesn't get within like a couple of cards, it's kind of nothing.
Yeah, it's not doing too much at that point. But I mean, depending on the situation, if you mill them down to 5 cards, that might still be pretty hard for them to kill you. Really what this card is trying to do, and I think you really would like to do with this, is if you keep your life total high, just one-shots them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a kind of plausible plan, honestly. Like, if you're at 15 life, 15 cards is a lot. That's like, especially against decks with like mill and stuff like that.
Yeah, it is. It definitely has that dream potential. It feels very fragile to me. Like,
I mean, how many nutrient blocks can you stomach? Because I've yet to eat my fill. Like, I've not cut that card from any deck I've drafted. I have a little theory about the set. I mean, this is just very clear to me, a trinket set, kind of like Brothers War, where like you have all these cheap artifacts and little things go into play, and cards that make use of that tend to be pretty strong. So why I really like the green 1/2 Gene Splicer as well. And I think that you if you can end up in a spot where you just play a bunch of little stuff, you gain life off nutrient blocks, you kind of stabilize, and then you cast Space Time Anomaly, it's gonna one-shot a lot of decks.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I would definitely
put it this way, Marshall. You're not beating this card very often.
I'm not beating this card very often, but I'm also going to be in prove it mode with it. Like, here's the thing. I totally get the scenario where your life total's high and you one-shot them. I totally get that there's the down case where they're beating you down and this thing's just getting worse and worse in your hand and not helping you get out. I get the extremes. The part that I'm worried about is the middle, like kind of what you described, where it's like 12 or 13, but they have 20 cards left. And you're like, okay, I got you down to 5 cards, but I did nothing. And they're just like, cool, untap, attack you for a bunch. And that window is still perfectly fine to kill you. That's the one I'm really worried about, because I'm willing to take the risk on, okay, they had a super aggressive start and this thing didn't do anything. But in any mid-range matchup or a mirror of control or something, then this thing excels. I just am not willing to swallow the pill on, yeah, it kind of did some stuff, but it wasn't quite enough. And so I would start off low on Space Time Anomaly, even though I'm attracted to it. Like, this does seem like a cool game plan.
Yeah, I mean, when I had that like triple Wrath Death deck, I did mill one person out and basically milled 2 people out, actually, because the second one had to play it in such a bad way with the blue-black Wrath that mills half their deck. And I think that just showed me this format goes to decking a good amount. I mean, you remember Chion was messaging us yesterday talking about how he decked himself. Yeah. As he was doing that, I was also decking myself.
Yeah, you guys are both saying the same thing.
So, like, as it turns out, like, if that's a lot of the experience that happens, sometimes a mill 10 might be enough. Sometimes getting them down to 6 cards in deck, like, they're just going to have a hard time finishing the game. So I kind of think that
like you could build around
there's something here. Yeah. Okay. I would probably give this a B to start with.
Okay.
But you want to build around B. You want to draft around it. I don't think you just throw this in a deck. And I think a lot of white blue decks aren't actually about this either. So you do have to kind of keep that in mind.
Okay. I think what I would do is I would start off with build around D. Like, I think this just looks like a trap. But if there is other mill around where this isn't your only thing and you can, build to that end, then I think this does get better, because it will result in a ton of cards. Even if it's just turn 4 and you're like 18, and you just don't do anything to the board. If you have any type of mill backup, that could help. But on its own, I'm not a believer. Next is Singularity Rupture. This is 3 blue, black for a sorcery at rare. It says destroy all creatures, then any number of target players, each mill half of their library, rounded down.
There we go. I think this card's also great. I think it's an A. Like you just cast. I mean, it's gold, so obviously kind of factor that in. That maybe first picking it has a few risks, but like still, you just cast this card. You mill them for like 10 cards or 12 cards, and that could be kind of nice. If you don't think the game's going to go to that, and you're playing against someone with graveyard stuff, you can decline to mill them. It is possible. You could also mill yourself if you were in a position where you thought it'd be helpful, but obviously there's a little bit of risk to that too.
Okay, but you like it at AA minus?
It's a Wrath with upside. I mean, it costs 6 mana, but I've found this card to be impressive.
Okay, A for Singularity Rupture. Next is Mutinous Massacre. This is a tough mana cost. It's 3 black, red, 7 mana and double. It's a sorcery at rare, and it says choose odd or even. Oh, here we go. Destroy each creature with mana value of the chosen quality, then gain control of all creatures until end of turn. Untap them, they gain haste until end of turn, and it does remind you that 0 is even.
Yeah, this card's nice.
So anything that's left over after the Wrath, you get to grab a hold of and win.
It's actually a really complicated card to cast, well. So like you have to worry about timing out, because what you have to do is look at the entire board and think, okay, if I blow up all odds and steal all evens, what happens? And vice versa. And because sometimes you want to cast it to blow up their creatures and keep your creatures alive. Sometimes you want to cast it, it actually blows up all your creatures, but then you steal all theirs and kill them. Mm-hmm. So, and obviously there's places in the middle too. So you really have to look at this card and figure out what the results are going to be. Because if you can kill them, and especially if they're tapped out, or you think like the way is clear for whatever reason, then you might as well just name the number that kills them. But if you're not going to kill them, you probably want to name the number that kills the most of their things and saves the most of yours. So I've found this card to be great. You cast this card, I think you're going to win the game a lot of the time.
Yeah, I'm obviously having not played with it, but my initial take is that it's just going to feel like every time they think for a few minutes, and the result is you either lose right now or you lose in a couple of turns. Like this does not seem like the type of card. I would give it an A. Of course, major caveat is that it has to be castable, and that is tough. It's double black, double red. You're not splashing this thing, etc. Next is Biotech Specialist. This is green-red for a 1/3 insect scientist at rare. It says when this creature enters, create a lander token. And whenever you sacrifice an artifact, this creature deals 2 damage to target opponent. Yeah. Never cutting it from this color pair, so that's a compliment, I guess.
Yeah, no, this look, it's exactly what red green wants to do. It gives you 2 pieces of material for 1 card. Like, I honestly would just give this card probably like a B plus. Like, yeah, I want to give it an A minus, but we're not quite there.
Yeah, and it's a 2-for-1 with upside, easy to cast if you're in the color pair, etc. Next is Diadrene Synthesis Amalgam. This is a weird one. It's white green X for a 0/1 legendary artifact creature construct at rare. It has trample, and it says it enters with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of mana spent to cast it. And then it says whenever you attack, you may remove a +1/+1 counter from each of 2 creatures you control. If you do, draw a card and create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token.
So it's pretty efficient, because you spend it, if you cast 3 mana, this ends up as a 3/4. That is pretty nice.
Oh, it counts the red, the white, and the green. Okay.
It says the number of mana spent to cast it. That's why it's worded
cool.
That way.
That's cool.
And then you end up, if you have other creatures with counters, you can start removing them. It's a good deal. Removing 2 counters to make a 2/2 and draw a card is good. And it's whenever you attack. This doesn't have to attack itself. But that said, you do end up in a spot where you need another creature with a counter on it for it to work. It's just not going to work if you don't.
So you do need 2 total creatures with counters on them.
Right.
This one and another, or 2 others. Yeah, and you can't remove 2 counters from the same creature.
Right.
Okay. But anytime you do this, you just cash that in, get the card, and make the 2/2 almost every time.
Yeah.
I guess it is a little awkward because it's like when you attack, which is kind of when you really want those +1/+1 counters floating around, but whatever, it's still worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this card seems awesome.
It seems like a builder on A for white green, and also just like a B in its own right. Like it's a 3-mana 3/4, 4-mana 4/5. Like you're not really losing out too much here.
With trample too. Yeah. And it has the +1/+1 counters that even if you take its ability aside, if you're putting it in that deck, there's other things that care about +1/+1 counters, and this is coming with them too. So yeah, very, very solid. B and build around A for Diadrine Synthesis Amalgam. Next is Servandum Sunstar Exemplar. This is white-black for a 2/2 legendary human knight at rare with Vigilance and Menace. And whenever another creature you control dies or is put into exile, put a +1/+1 counter on Servandum and you gain 1 life. And when Servandum dies or is put into exile while its power is 4 or greater, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. Wow. That's a lot of text for 2 mana, but it's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely some cool stuff going on here. I think that Servandum basically works pretty well just by itself, like just in a random deck. But obviously, the more sacrifice stuff you can find, the better it's going to end up being.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I would say at least a B for Servandum. I would probably say B+. Like, there's just enough stuff going on here.
Yeah, I think B+ is good. Like it's nice that if once you get it up to 4 power, you're probably getting some pretty good value from the whole deal.
Pinnacle Emissary is next. It's 1 blue-red for a 3/3 artifact creature robot at rare. It says whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 1/1 colorless drone artifact creature token with flying, and this token can block only creatures with flying. And it has warp. It only costs 1 mana, and it can be blue or red.
I've found this card to be really good. I had a deck with two of them, and it was incredible. Like you just, what you do is you end up playing this card, and like if you can warp it in and play some things, that's great. But even if you can't do that, like playing it as a 3/3 is really strong, and you end up just making a lot of flying tokens off the whole thing. The flying tokens also they go a long way towards killing them and can block flyers. They're not quite as good as normal tokens at ground creatures, of course, but the fact that they're flying, I think on balance makes them better than just a 1/1 ground creature.
Oh, okay.
So I would give Pinnacle Emissary probably a B+. I think it's really good in the artifact deck, and I think almost every blue-red deck is just going to play the card. I don't going
to play it regardless of build around, but obviously it has a higher ceiling if you actually build towards it. Next is Cosmogoyf. This is black-green for a star and then a 1+ star in the true Goyf tradition. It is an elemental Lurgoyf at rare. It says this creature's power is equal to the number of cards you own in exile, and its toughness is equal to that number +1. Cute. Alert, Cosmogoyf. Recommended action. Run. PSS Etrix Shipbound Computer Final Transmission.
I mean, realistically, this card I think is an F. Like you're just not going to end up with enough stuff in exile. Like it's a cool constructed card. I'm sure there's plenty of cool stuff you can do there, but I would not play this in draft. I would just give it an F.
Ragost Deft Gastronaut. Look at this guy. This is red-white for a 2/2 legendary lobster citizen at rare. And it says artifacts you control are foods in addition to their other types and have 2 tap. Sacrifice this artifact, you gain 3 life. It also has the activated ability of 1, tap it, sacrifice a food. Ragost deals 3 damage to each opponent. And at the beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, untap Ragost. So it turns all your artifacts into foods, and then you can throw foods at the opponent. Maybe even twice a turn.
Yeah. I mean, it it does some cool stuff.
Food fight.
I mean, it's a 2-mana 2/2, and it doesn't really give you much of an advantage over past that, besides letting you throw other artifacts. So if you have nutrient blocks and other things, which don't even have to be intrinsically food, of course, then yeah, this card can do some things.
Yeah,
how good is it?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
Artifacts you control. So if you have an artifacts deck, I mean, this does like become a must kill at some point, right? Like 3 damage is a lot. It adds up quickly. And you go, okay, I've got 3 artifacts on the battlefield and you're at 10. And your opponent's like, okay, end step, chuck a food at them. End step, chuck a food at them. Main phase, chuck a food. Like their life total's going down very, very quickly. You are giving up your board state for the privilege, but it's got to be scary.
If you can generate artifact tokens or like nutrient blocks, or have a lot of artifacts, like this card goes pretty hard. And
definitely.
At 2 mana 2/2 with this set of abilities is pretty dangerous. Like, I don't have to know much about your deck. If you have this in play in 4 or 5 mana, I'm going to feel like, okay, I have to kill that thing. Like, I don't want to sit around and discover how many nutrient blocks you have, you know?
Yeah. You think you and I would be considered like great gastronauts of our time?
I would say so. Gastronaut. I mean, if we had the space component, we would definitely be qualify here
to go where no man has gone before. I would give B for Ragast.
Yeah, I think B for Ragast. I think you're just going to play the card most of the time.
It's just awesome.
It's also really, really funny. It's a lobster that throws food at you. Like,
it's just throwing food at you. Next is Sammy Wildcat Captain. This is 4 red, white for a 4/4 legendary human artificer rogue at Mythic rare. Sammy has double strike and vigilance, and spells you cast have affinity for artifacts, which means they cost 1 less to cast for each artifact you control. That's just everything. 6 mana,
Except
4/4
this.
double strike. Yeah, 6 mana, 4/4 double strike vigilance.
Yeah, this looks like a D to me.
Medium.
I don't think the ability is going to matter that much, and red white isn't even like as heavy into artifacts as some of the other color combos. And a 6 mana 4/4 double strike vigilance is just not impressive.
No, it's not. That's so much mana for that thing. I like D for Sammy Wildcat Captain. Next is Genomorph Imago. Genomorph Imago, maybe. It's blue-green for a 1/3 insect druid at rare. It has flying and landfall. Target creature has base power and toughness 3/3 until end of turn. If you control 6 or more lands, that creature has base power and toughness 6/6 until end of turn instead. That's on landfall. That's actually pretty cool.
I thought this card is great. I mean, it's kind of like a 2 mana 3/3 flyer when it comes to attacking.
Right.
And it also later becomes like a 6/6, can pump other things. Like, this card just kind of does everything you want. So I'm pretty in for Genomorph here. I've had it be awesome.
Yeah, that card looks great. I would give it a B.
Yeah, I would probably do a little higher than that. I would give it an A-. Like,
ooh, nice.
Well, when you have this card, I feel like you end up in a spot where you're just going to be able to pressure them pretty effectively. Like, it's not as good defensively, though. Note that you can sack a lander. Sacking a lander to all of a sudden make one of your things into a 6/6 on blocks is pretty strong.
Yeah.
And it hits really hard. So I like Genomorph Imago. I think that the card
No, when you
really
put it
does
that
get
way,
there.
I mean, if it is a 2 mana 3/3 flyer on average, that's already really good.
Later in the game, it gets even better.
Yeah,
So
becomes a dragon for 2 mana. Okay, we've got one more gold card. It is Infinite Guideline Station. It costs Woober, one of each
TVA.
color. It is so 5 mana for a legendary, again, one of each color for legendary artifact spacecraft at rare. It says when it enters, create a tapped 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token for each multicolored permanent you control. So I guess you get one for sure. And then you can station it up for 12 or more charge counters where it becomes a 7/15 flyer.
once you get this thing going, though.
And whenever it attacks, draw a card for each multicolored permanent you control. Come on. They just set the bar a little too high for everything on this card. The casting cost, the station cost. It's like you said, Luis. Well, once you get it going, it's like, okay, sure. Once I get Emrakul going, it's pretty good too. But this one feels like a non-starter. I don't see it getting on the battlefield nor getting stationed unless you're doing something kind of out of the ordinary.
Yeah, I've had decks that could cast this card. Like you can go kind of deep. I still wouldn't even consider putting it in the deck. It's just not going to do anything. It just has no effect.
Right.
It's not like, oh, well, at least when you get this going, it's really strong, or at least when you cast it. No, it's just a straight up like makes a 2/2 and then has a terrible ability. So F, right. Get out of here.
F for the uncastable and not even worth it if you do infinite guideline station. Okay. Artifact / colorless cards here. First one is called the Dominion Bracelet. It's 2 mana for a legendary artifact equipment. This one's mythic rare. It says equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has, really, you can pay 15 mana and exile the Dominion Bracelet. If you do, it says you control target opponent during their next turn. This ability costs X less to activate, where X is this creature's power, and you can only activate this at sorcery speed. And the equip cost is actually cheap. It's just 1. So like if I zoom out, right, we do have 2 mana, 1 to equip, creature gets +1/+1, which is probably playable. It's a okay equipment. Being able to move around +1/+1, for just 1 mana is usually proven to be decent for on a cheap card like this. And then, I don't know, if you get it, put it on a big creature and it's 6 power or whatever, you can at some point pay 9 mana to Mindslaver them.
Yeah, I don't think it's completely out of the question. It also like the 1/1 that taps for mana can tap for double blue to activate this because it is an activated ability of an artifact. If it's on a creature, if the creature it's on is an artifact, that is. And I've definitely seen games where this could come up, but I also don't think this looks good enough, is my guess.
Would you play it for that initial, just the equipment?
No, I don't think so.
A little too low impact? Okay.
Yeah.
How good is Mindslavering somebody in limited as when it comes to, improving your win rate? Do you think?
It's pretty good. Like the part of the problem is by the time you do it, they might have gone through a lot of the stuff they could use, especially if they know a Mindslaver is kind of incoming. But it's still a beating when you do it. So the more stuff that's on the board, the better it tends to get. If you like threw away everything to do this and then don't have anything much else left, you're going to end up, kind of not really doing that much. But if you can do it with a juicy board and make them do some chump attacks, they do a removal spell, you maybe remove one of the things. I don't know, there's some things you can do there.
So then I guess the question is, what would be the sweet spot to pay? Because 9 is a lot, and that's getting it on a 6-powered creature.
I think 8 mana, 7 power, or something like that.
Yeah, it's just not quite there, is it, for the Dominion Bracelet?
I don't think so. I think that the combination that you need to have this work is just not going to come up that often. And you have all your mana untapped on a 7-power creature.
Right, come on.
I believe this card can do something, and I think there's maybe matchups where it can do something, but I overall am not going to be taking this card early. I don't think it's generally great.
No, it looks to me like a stretch goal card, like a month 3. I'm going to Dominion Bracelet somebody this game. I'm going to take it early and just try to do it. But not because it's really good, but because I want to send Paul and Luis a screenshot or something,
Exactly.
D, I guess, for Dominion Bracelet. We're not calling it completely unplayable, but it's closer than that than anything. Next is Tezzeret, Cruel Captain. It's 3 mana for a legendary Planeswalker Tezzeret at Mythic Rare. It comes in with 4 loyalty. It has 3 abilities plus a static. So the static is whenever an artifact you control enters, put a loyalty counter on Tezzeret. The 0 mana ability is untap target artifact or creature. If it's an artifact creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it. The -3, which does leave Tezzeret still on the battlefield, says search your library for an artifact card with mana value 1 or less, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. And then the ultimate is -7, so it is attainable. It says you get an emblem with, at the beginning of combat on your turn, put 3 +1/+1 counters on target artifact you control. If it's not a creature, it becomes a 0/0 robot artifact creature. This seems bad, actually.
I don't think it's particularly good. Like,
there's a lot of wheel spinning here.
Well, I think if you have a lot of artifacts in your deck, like it can bump up loyalty pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's more of a build around. I don't think this card is like necessarily incredible on its own, but I do think that you can get this card to a pretty good place. Like, imagine a blue-red deck that has some artifact token making, especially like maybe you have the rare that makes tokens when you play them.
Yeah.
And you just end up going like, play Tezzeret, untap something, put a counter on it, make an artifact, this gets another counter, this gets another counter. You eventually get to ultimate it and then start making your nutrient blocks bigger and bigger over time, or whatever artifacts you have.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time that we saw a planeswalker that was so ultimate focused. Like, the first ability is okay, but you do have to have an artifact creature to really make it good. Like, you can untap something, but who cares? But if it gets a counter, then that's good. The -3 is like a lot of loyalty to pay, especially in limited, to just go get a random 1-drop. I get it in constructed. You can get silver bullet type stuff, but not for us.
In cube, we're untapping Time Vault with this one.
Yeah, there you go. And then, but the -7 is like that. That's a thing. Like, that will take over the game as it progresses. So it is kind of interesting that it's A, very build around, and B, kind of skewed towards getting to the ultimate. This just doesn't check the box for the normal super powerful planeswalker that kind of doesn't need any help, and it does the protect itself, draw a card, kill something kind of dynamic. So it's not on that level, but if built around, I'm not cutting Tezzeret Cruel Captain from any like artifact deck. Like, still looks like it has a lot of action.
Yeah.
I would give it like a build around B or maybe B plus, something in that range.
Yeah, build around B plus. I like that.
It's asking a lot. Next is Dawnsire Sunstar Dreadnought. Woo! This is a 5-mana legendary artifact spacecraft. This is mythic rare, and it has no ETB, but it does have 2 station levels. The first one is 10 or more, and it says whenever you attack, Dawnsire deals 100 damage to up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. So that's just an artifact that says that, by the way, right? So it's like you just turn a 1/1 sideways, and then this thing just goes and smashes something for 100. Then it also can become a flyer in and of itself if you're willing to put in 20 charge counters. It becomes a 20/20 flyer that deals 100 when you turn it sideways.
Yeah,
I love it, man. It's like, this feels like old school card design, right? It's just like full on. If you like to do big stuff, here it is. Dawnsire Sunstar Dreadnought. Let's go big, right? There's so many huge numbers all over this card. 10, 20, 20, 20, 100. It does, but it really suffers.
It's pretty funny. I don't think it's good. Like, no, I don't think you're supposed to play this card.
No, I think that if there is a way,
it just takes too much.
Right. If there is a way to get it stationed and still have anything left over to turn sideways to start killing creatures with it, you could see a path forward. But 10 or more to get to that stage after paying, by the way, 5 mana for nothing. It doesn't do anything. That's too big of a cost to pay. This feels like the type of card that, if you never played it, you'd probably be better off, but it probably can do some things in some decks. Like, I'm sure we'll see it around, but that 5 mana plus 10 charge counters. And my God, can you imagine a game where you're behind? You don't have time to charge counter. You might not have any creatures. Like, yeah. I would start off by saying F for Dawnsire and just don't play it. And God, I'll tell you what, Luis, if that gets proven wrong, I'll be thrilled, because it means the format's slow and it's
not
fun.
going to be.
But it's not going to be. Next is the Eternity Elevator. Does it go up forever or down forever? It's 5 mana for a legendary artifact spacecraft, and it is rare. It taps. It's an artifact, right? It taps for 3 colorless mana. 5 mana artifact taps for 3. And then it also requires 20 or more charge counters before it becomes a thing. In this case, it becomes tap, add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of charge counters on the Eternity Elevator. So it taps for at least 20 mana of any one color. That is awesome. And once again, just trash. Like we don't really have room in our deck. Like there isn't an archetype that wants 5 mana tap for 3 colorless, right?
No, and the fact that you can station at 20 then tap for 20 is cute, but yeah, I think this card looks like an F to me. It is a funny card, though.
It is funny. Next is Anti-Causal Vestige. This is 6 mana for a 7/5. Oh, hello, friend. Are you lost? It's an Eldrazi.
The only Eldrazi in the set.
It says when this creature leaves the battlefield, draw. So again, 6 mana, 7/5. When this creature leaves the battlefield, draw a card. Then you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped. And this is where it gets cool. It has warp for 4. So assuming you have 4 mana, you pay 4, you draw a card, and then if you have something 4 or less, a permanent card you can put on the battlefield.
Yeah, so you basically you're just up a card. And the downside is that the permanent you put into play is tapped. So it's like instead of playing your 4-drop, you played a tap 4-drop. You drew a card off it, and it can fix like color problems. Like there's a lot of stuff you can do.
Lands.
Yeah, you can put a land into play if you want.
Ramp yourself for 4, draw a card, and put a land in the battlefield tapped. And it is a 6 mana 7/5. That's reasonable stats for it. It's not amazing, but it's pretty big. Yeah, I like it. I like Anti-Causal Vestige. Like, there's nothing here that just blows your mind, right? But, at the rare level, this feels like appropriately powerful. It leaves you up a couple of cards. They do have to deal with it at some point. Getting free stuff is good. Getting something for your 4 mana.
Yeah, I think that's great. There's really no downside. I think it's good at both in both cases. It's good. It's a good creature to get back because it's a card advantage creature. Like there's just a lot you can do with it. So I like B for Anti-Causal Vestige.
Yeah, B+B. I like it a lot.
They did put the safety valve of number of lands you control, so you can't like cheat it out and do something crazy. But I think it's still a very good card.
Yeah, the fact that it's colorless helps too. Like it's an easy pick and draft just to say, well, I'm just going to be playing this either way. Next is Thrumming Hive Pool. Oh no, are those slivers? It's 6 mana for an artifact at rare. Yep. Affinity for slivers. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each sliver you control. It says slivers you control have double strike and haste, and at the beginning of your upkeep, create 2 1/1 colorless sliver creature tokens. All right, so we got to the meat of the matter there at the end. So I assume there's no other sliver, so we just have to pay 6 for this.
You do, and it's fantastic.
And then it's at the beginning of my upkeep, it starts spitting out 2/2 double strike hasters.
Yeah.
Well, that's inevitability.
It definitely is. I mean,
a little slow.
It is a little slow. It's true, but this card goes pretty hard.
Yeah.
Like it's 2/2/1/1 double strike hasters is like attacking for 4, or most likely because I actually had this card in one deck. You play this. You try to survive that turn. You probably block the next 2 turns, then you start killing them.
And then you start killing them.
It goes fast once you do.
Yeah, I mean, you're making chump blockers. If they're not chump blockers, then you're building up a little double strike blocking army. And then once you feel comfortable, in they go. Yeah, and I mention this every time with cards like this, but I really do like cards that create a game plan in and of themselves. Like, once this card hits the battlefield and as you're planning for it to hit the battlefield, you know that the only thing that matters to you is making this game go more turns. Like use your removal, keep your life total high, block advantageously that where you don't have to get like max value. It's just a matter of keeping yourself alive, because every turn that goes by where you have Thrumming Hive Pool, it just gets worse and worse and worse for your opponents until you kill them. And I really like that. The one knock on it is it's slow. It is your upkeep. So you do pay 6 mana and theoretically nothing happens. So you do need to keep yourself, so that you don't get killed that turn or the turn after. What do you have it in the A range?
Yeah.
A minus
is where I would put this card.
A minus. I really want to open that card now. Next is the End Stone. This is 7 mana for a legendary artifact. It's mythic rare. It says, whenever you play a land or cast a spell, draw a card. And at the beginning of your end step, your life total becomes half your starting life total rounded up.
Yeah, so you basically go to 10.
You just go to 10. So, and that could take you from 15 to 10 or take you from 1 to 10.
Yep, whatever your life total is, you just go straight to 10. And then every time you do anything. You play a land, cast a spell, you draw a card. Like, this card's pretty unbeatable. If they can't kill you when you play this, like the next turn, you're just gonna win the game from there.
This feels a lot like Thrumming Hive Pool, except for that it puts you at 10 the turn you cast it. Yeah, this card seems awesome. I love cards like this too. Similar stuff to what I said about the Hive Pool.
I mean, it's going to draw you like it costs 7, right? So you play this, you do nothing else that turn, go to 10. If they can attack you to less than 10 and can't kill the end stone, it's like it's not even like they did anything. And then on your next turn, you like play a land, draw a card. Now you have 8 mana. You're probably playing 3 more spells that turn and drawing 3 more cards.
You're just popping
or at least
off.
2.
Yeah. And 10 is, you'll take 10 at that stage of the game. Like you're more worried about being below 10 than you were, getting hit for 10 in one turn is hard. Like they're going to have to really do something. So I like, it's like between A minus and A for Endstone for me.
I would just give it an A because the fact that it puts you to 10 is a pretty big upside, I think, because it just means if you survive this turn, it all gets reset. So like totally. You end up in a spot where it's like pretty hard to have things go too wrong.
It really
like obviously,
is.
Yes, you can just die, or they can blow up the end stone. And sometimes you're like, I'm at 20, play the end stone, go to 10, and then they kill the end stone, and you're like, oh, that wasn't a great exchange. But
right,
every single time I played against that card, I've lost.
Okay.
It's a messed up card.
It does seem like a messed up card. A for the end stone. Last artifact is Extinguisher Battleship. This is 8 mana. For an artifact spacecraft, it's rare. And it says when it enters, destroy target non-creature permanent. Then the spacecraft deals 4 damage to each creature. Are those contingent upon each other?
I think so. I think the way that's worded, it
so
is.
There has to be a non-creature permanent you don't get
kill
the 4.
lands.
So it just blows up a land. Okay, cool.
Well, or if they have a random artifact or enchantment in play.
Gotcha. But the backup plan is
killing Banishing Light to free your creature, your creature better have more than 4 toughness, so that's not going to work out great for you.
Yeah, wow. And then it more or less sweeps the board, or at least takes away the majority of creatures. Then, of course, it has Station. And this is really interesting because they front-loaded all of the cost here on the 8 mana part, because the Station, it only needs to get to 5 or more.
Yeah.
And it's huge. It's a 10/10 flying trampler.
Yeah,
that's very aggressive.
The station is no joke. You're frequently going to play this and then on the next turn attack with it.
Right.
It's not hard to do that.
This card seems great. Like, when you're talking about, well, where do I want to put my 8 mana? Yeah, this is on the list. Like, dealing 4 damage to each creature means that you have a decent chance of, living through here. You might have to take 1 hit from something big, but in a ramp deck, I would definitely want an Extinguisher Battleship. At 8 mana in a regular deck, you're starting to get into a little bit of sketchy territory, but still, I don't know, man. That seems like a good use. That seems like a good payoff for my 8 mana.
Yeah, I agree. I think it works out pretty nicely.
Like B+ for Extinguisher Battleship?
I would give it B+, but it's kind of like a build around like A-, where it's like if you do the work to make this card succeed, it's just going to be really good for you.
Man, you weren't kidding about the wraths. Holy crap, they're just everywhere. They're on creatures, they're on artifacts, they're on spacecraft. Okay, this next chunk of cards are a cycle of mythic rares called planets, and there's one for each color. So this first one is the white one. It's Adagia, I don't know, Windswept Bastion. So it's a land planet mythic rare. It enters tap, they all do. It taps for their color, in this case it's white, and they have station, so you can charge them up. This one needs, in fact, they all need 12 or more, and then things happen. So in this case, the land gets the ability, 3 and a white, tap it, create a token that's a copy of target artifact or enchantment you control, except it's legendary, and you can only activate it at sorcery speed. So as usual, you know, the cost on these is relatively low. It's a tapped planes, if you will, right? So not the end of the world at all, but kind of creates a game ender late. It's just 12 is a lot to have to put into it. What do you think about this one?
This is, I think, one of the ones that I would maybe consider playing, because a tap land isn't that bad. And then once you activate it, like the token doesn't go away in a turn or anything. It's legendary, so you can't keep making tokens. So like, let's say you have a, you know, random 3/3 in play. You make a token. Now you have a 3/3 plus a legendary 3/3. That's fine. If you make another token of the same thing, it'll now not be okay to have those two in play.
You'll have to keep one or the other. Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't kick in until kind of the second one. So.
And there's reasons to do that anyway, right? Like if you have limited choices there, you still get an ETB on the new one, and you could just keep the new one. Also, you could attack with the original legendary copy, I should say, and then create a copy of the original, and then you can keep the untapped new copy. Like there's reasons to do these, even in that scenario. For the most part, you're just going to be like, copy my best thing, copy my second best thing, copy my third best thing.
Or copy my best thing, and then one of the copies dies, then do it again. Or well, the copy dies. You want to copy the original.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's all well and good. How often are you going to station it for 12 is kind of my skepticism. Part. It's still probably not very good.
Yeah, this is one of those rare cases where, and I think a bunch of the spacecraft fit into it. You know, we talk about quadrant 3, right? And one of the quadrants is parity. And that one, you know, doesn't come up that often because it's usually pretty obvious. This actually is the type of card that it's best in that scenario. If you're ahead, you want to be attacking with those creatures. If you're behind, you probably can't afford to be dumping a bunch of creatures, charge counters into this thing. And in developing, it's like mediocre because it's a tap land. But at parity, yeah.
I mean, it will win you the game.
It will.
Like, if you end up in a board stall and you're like, put 4 into this, put 4 into this. Okay, put 4 into this. Let's make a token.
Yeah.
And then you'll win the game from there. So this looks like I would play this in a deck that could realistically go to the long game, like not an aggro deck, and try and see. But my guess is most of the time you're not going to see good results from the card.
Yeah. I would give it a C+. It is not asking that much of you, and under certain circumstances, it will deliver. Next is Uthros Titanic God Core. Wow, that's a hell of a name. This is the blue one. Again, all the same stuff. Tapped, adds a color, 12. And so this one becomes, after you get to the 12, you get blue, tap it, and add blue for each artifact you control.
Yeah, I don't think by the time, like this is an F. By the time you take all this effort, the fact that your land has for maybe even 6 mana, which is like probably ambitious. Who cares? Like
who cares? Yeah, it's just getting to.
And you're talking to one of the premier Tolarian Academy enjoyers.
Yeah, I was going to say if Luis is saying that, you're kind of out.
So I think Uthros is enough.
Next is Susur Secundi. This is Secundi Void Altar. This is the black one, and it gets the ability 1 in a black. Tap it, pay 2 life, and sacrifice a creature. Oh, is that all? To draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power, and you can only do that at sorcery speed.
I mean, this is at least a pretty good payoff. You cycle 4/4 and you get 4 tokens, or four cards rather. Like that's a pretty reasonable game.
It is. It has the same caveats as the other, but yeah, this is still like a C+ or whatever. I mean, If your deck has any scenario where you're like, yeah, that might be really good, you're not giving up that much by having a tap land. It's more just like, where do you want to pick these, And that's a little bit yet to be seen. Next is Caveron Memorial Worlds. This is the red one. And after you get to the 12, it has 1 in a red, tap it, and sacrifice a land to create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. Then creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn.
Another good one, you make a 3/2 haster plus the rest of your team is getting haste and getting in. So it seems like you can do some pretty good stuff with that. This is probably in the C+ level where it's possible to make this go. And when it does, at least what I like about this one more than the others, this one works as long as you have lands in play, which is to say, if you're just completely flooded out and you have nothing else going on, at least Caveron does something.
Yeah.
Whereas, both Adagia and Susuru Secundi require you to have creatures in play to do something. So I like Caveron. Still give it about the same grade, but it's got some good stuff going for it.
Yeah, it's also interesting that you can do that one at not sorcery speed. I mean, you're giving up a little bit by doing it, but you can end step do it and then do it on your turn, that kind of thing. The green one is called Evendo Walking Haven. And when you get to the 12, it has green, tap, add green for each creature you control.
The cowards couldn't even make Gaia's Cradle until they're in Academy. They had to make it green tap and blue tap. Did you have to? You gated it behind 12 power worth of crewing. Come on. This is enough. Don't play this card.
Yeah, agreed. One little note about the planets is that at least putting the 12 power into it is a relatively safe place to do it, right? We've had the issues with, and then they kill your thing. Lands are very difficult to interact with, so at least you can
already forget about Extinguisher Battleship.
Yeah. No, you reminded me. Then we interestingly have a cycle of 5 cards, and these are, what do we call these? Wow.
What, Shocklands?
The Shocklands, thank you. Watery Grave, Stomping Ground, Godless Shrine, Sacred Foundry, and Breeding Pool are back. So this is 5 of the full cycle of 10 are represented here. These are the enemy ones. Is that what we call these?
No, they're just a random assortment. I mean, not random in that they weren't chosen at random, but we don't really know exactly because it's 2 allied and 3 enemy. It's blue, black, red, green, and then black, white, red, white, blue, green.
Okay.
So
they're here.
I have a hot take on these, actually. I think these are actually quite a bit better than you might think because I think the deck that cares about having differently named lands is really good. And I played a Creeping Tarpon, a tapped blue-black land in a deck that did not have any other black cards, or it was just a teamer deck. But it made all my Starship Enterprises work better. And that's a pretty big game. I think that there's something there, to a 5-color deck that's really trying to use that card, the Survey McCann, the 4-mana 1/3 that sacks to draw 3, gain 3, all that good stuff. And I think that these lands are a pretty big part of it. Plus, they're also dual lands, which is good enough for a 5-color deck. So
yeah,
I'm not saying I'm these cards are A- or anything, but I think they're in the solid B range, especially when you think that deck might be on the table. Obviously, once you're not doing that, it goes down a bit. But the difference between having 2 to 3 random non-basics versus none is really big with that card, and the other cards that care about land types. Your scroll, your 3-mana scroll now sacks to draw 5 cards instead of 4. That's a pretty big difference.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so keep your eye out for these in that way. In the average deck, they're just kind of a decent performing dual land, which is a nice to have, but not a crazy bonus. One more land is Secluded Starforge. This is a rare land that taps for colorless. You can pay 2 mana, tap it, and tap X untapped artifacts you control to have target creature get +X/+0 until end of turn at sorcery speed. And then you can pay 5 mana, tap it, and create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. Oh. Spits out 2/2s for, call it 6 mana.
Yeah, and then sometimes when you have 4 or 5 artifacts and playing a flyer, you can use this to kind of fireball them. I haven't really played with this card. I imagine it's probably fine in...
Yeah, in a ramp deck or something?
I was thinking an artifact deck that could also use the middle ability, or a ramp deck. Yeah, either one of those. But I don't know that I would be looking to take this card very highly. I don't think I would.
I don't think so either, but that is interesting. Like, again, here's another card that can break parity, which is, again, not normally the place that you want to, like, you know, put your picks and your all your resources, but it is nice to have. And this does that. What's the cost? You have to play a land that taps for colorless. That is a big cost. I generally avoid that, you know, when
can
possible.
Be.
But it is a different land name.
I do still think that it being a different land is actually like pretty legit. So
I think in that ramp deck, you probably want to play Secluded Starforge.
Yeah. No, I definitely, if you have a single Starship Enterprise, you got to be playing the Starforge.
There you go.
So I would give it probably like C+ or something like that.
Okay. If you like lands, we've got more to go over here.
We got some lands for you. Did we want to do the special guests before the lands?
We have special guests?
Yeah, it's not that many. But
did I get that link? What is? Oh my God! I did not know there were special guests.
Yeah, there is some of those as well.
Is that this one here? No, that's not it. Do you have a link for that, Luis, or did I miss it or something? What did I do?
Let's see.
I did not know there were special guests. How did I miss that?
Let me see if I can find it, because I've definitely reviewed all of these. Let me see. This is.
Well, we can start with the lands and then.
Yeah, and well, okay, I got it. I have them here. So
ship them.
Yeah, we're going to start with Warping Whale. So that Jeff also had you there too. So go grab him. But his link. But
okay, well,
Warping Whale,
these ones I did see these with this really cool like old comic book vibe.
Yeah. That's what's going on.
Okay.
It's one in a colorless. It's an instant, so you have to have colorless mana to cast it.
Literally colorless. Yep.
Exile a creature with power or toughness 1 or less, or counter target sorcery, or make a 1/1 Eldrazi sign that sacks for colorless. So basically, you end up when you play Warping Whale. The biggest cost is, can you generate colorless mana? Because if you can, then I would basically always play the card. It's flexible enough; it'll do something. But if you can't, it's I think pretty poor.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's not worth playing off 2 or 3 colorless sources. So most of the time, this is probably unplayable.
I would just say to avoid it unless you have a weird deck where you can make a bunch of colorless mana. Next is Deafening Silence. This is an enchantment for white. And it says each player can't cast more than 1 non-creature spell each turn. No.
So this is an F. This is just F. No. Yes, against the 2 spell a turn deck, you can kind of make their life harder, but you should not put this card in your deck.
This is next is Robe of Stars. This is 1 and a white for an equipment. This is funny reading these cards. It costs 50 cents apparently. The equipped creature gets +0/+3. The equip cost is 1, and it has astral projection. 1 and a white equipped creature phases out.
Yeah, this looks like an F to me as well. 2 mana, 1 to equip. +0/+3 is not that exciting. You can pay 2 to phase it out, which doesn't re-trigger ETBs or anything like that. I mean, what it does do is it lets you kind of block forever or dodge removal, but I just don't really understand why you're doing all this.
Next is Nexus of Fate. Oh man, I haven't seen you in a while. It's 5 blue for an instant. This says take an extra turn after this one. And if this card would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, you reveal this card and shuffle it into its owner's library instead.
So 7 mana to take an extra turn, and then it reshuffles, which means you can like kind of really go off. But I would again not play this card. 7 mana is a lot, and the fact that you can stop yourself from being decked is just like, it's funny, but it doesn't actually. You're not, unless you're doing something that'll move you forward. Like, you do get to take infinite turns if you get into no cards in deck, right? You self mill a bunch, and you can also self mill without fear. If it goes into your graveyard from anywhere, you shuffle it, and you get to 0 cards, then you just cast this over and over again. But you need a way to win the game from there. You need to actually be doing something as well.
Next is Paradox Haze, which is an enchantment aura. It enchants a player, and at the beginning of enchanted player's first upkeep each turn, that player gets an additional upkeep step. Okay, whatever. That's an F. Next is
Darkness, also an F. 1 black, instant, prevent all combat damage that be dealt this turn.
Okay, so it's like a fog and for black. Okay, an F.
It is, in fact, literally a fog. That is exactly what it is.
Next is Magus of the Moon. This is 2 and a red for a 2/2 human wizard, and it says non-basic lands are mountains. that's another not playable here. Sideboard, maybe? I don't.
Not even.
Okay. F. Next is Burgeoning. That says it's an enchantment that says whenever an opponent plays a land, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield, and it costs green. It's an F. Next is Green Sun's Zenith, which is a sorcery for X and a green. And it says search your library for a green creature card with mana value X or less, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. And then it says shuffle Green Sun's Zenith into its owner's library. Another way to not get decked. Card's pretty good, though.
Kind of good. If you have enough different green creatures, like you're paying a tax of 1 on any of them, but you also get to get whichever one you want. And this reshuffles in your deck, so your deck is always kind of gassy.
Totally. This is a good card. It does add that 1 mana premium, but searching up anything's powerful. It really is. It's any cards that can search up and get it onto the battlefield, are worth that 1 extra mana. Green Sun Zenith, it's a good card. It's a B.
Yeah.
Last of these is Sliver Overlord, which is Wooburg, 1 of each color for a legendary Sliver mutant. And it has 3 search your library for a Sliver card, reveal that card, put it in your hand, and then shuffle, or 3 gain control of target Sliver, and it's a 7/7. So no.
Not in for that.
Not in for that. I have to say that I get sometimes a little grumpy about the weird artwork cards and stuff, but these are freaking...
Well, they're like old comic
They look
covers,
like old comics, but they really look like it.
They might actually be old. No, I guess the Sliver Overlord probably isn't. I don't know. Some of these look like they just could have been that.
Yeah, they're so well done. I'm really impressed by that, even though it's a little jarring and they put words all over the place. Okay, now Stellar
we can get to
Sites.
the stellar sites. Yep.
So these are 45 lands. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over each of them as we do. But as we just did in that one, there's some of these that just don't have any application here. And so we're going to, if that's the case, we're just going to tell you, nope, F, and we're going to move on. Just to make sure that we can get through these, because these only come up 1 in every 8 packs. So these are not the type of cards that it's just like every draft you have 2 or 3 of these in your deck and off you go. These are going to show up often enough that we want to cover them, though. The first one is Ancient Tomb. Again, these are all lands. So this taps for 2 colorless mana and deals 2 damage to you. This is kind of busted, right? There's always arguments about how good Ancient Tomb is, like in Cube and stuff. How do you feel about unleashing an Ancient Tomb in a normal draft format where...
And to be clear, when you say arguments about how good it is, it's not, is this card good? It's, how is this card really good? Is it card very good? It's all on the high end of the range.
Exactly.
It's a strong card. So the way I see Ancient Tomb in draft here is, if you can build your deck around it, I think it's going to be pretty strong. Okay. But you do have to take the effort to do that.
Okay, so if you just had a normal green-red deck where you throw an Ancient Tomb in there?
I don't think so. Because
getting your 4-drop done on turn early is pretty nice.
Yeah, I think you want to basically be A, aggressive, and B, have a lot of cards that have 2 or 3 colorless symbols in their cost, or you know what I mean, don't need colored mana, right. Because what you end up wanting to do with Ancient Tomb is play a 3-drop on turn 2 and a 4-drop on turn 3 and kill them before the fact that you had landed 6 to 8 damage to you matters. But I think that is actually pretty doable. I can imagine a good beatdown deck that is just turn 2 3-drop, turn 3 4-drop, turn 4 turn 2 3-drop, turn 3 4-drop, turn 4 5-drop. You're going to be under a lot of pressure, and paying life to get a mana ahead on the curve can be very strong.
Definitely. It's really interesting to me to unleash a card like this every once in a while, because that 2 life definitely catches up. What grade would you give Ancient Tomb?
I think it's a build around B, where
okay.
I don't think it's an A, because there's always the chance that you draw Ancient Tomb and the extra 4 damage it does are just terrible for you. But I think a lot of the time you're gonna be able to use Ancient Tomb and kind of get some good value from it if you've built your deck correctly. So I would say build around B.
Next is Blast Zone. This is a land that enters with a charge counter on it. It taps for colorless, and it has XX tap to put X charge counters on it, and you can pay 3, tap, and sack the land to destroy each non-land permanent with mana value equal to the number of charge counters on it. As in exactly the same.
So my rating of all the lands gets like an extra half point based on I think how strong the survey mechanic is and what it does to the kind of draft metagame. Mm-hmm. But I also think Blast Zone is actually kind of reasonable. I had a game where I popped it for 2 and it was just good to do that.
Okay.
You know, and I don't think that's going to be a completely, rare occurrence.
What would you give it?
I'd probably give it like a C plus. I wouldn't put this card in my deck unless I cared about the land type thing. I don't think it's good enough to do that. Okay. You maybe could slide it in if your opponent has like a specific deck that really is low curve or something.
Next is Blinkmoth Nexus, which is a land that taps to add colorless, or you can pay 1 to make it a 1/1 Blinkmoth artifact creature with flying until end of turn that's still a land. And it also has the ability of 1 tap target Blinkmoth creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
I like this one a lot because just having a random 1/1/2/2 blocker, because you can actually like block with this and then pump it, I think is pretty good. Like you're going to end up getting a little bit of extra value. Your land also is like an artifact if you really need it to be. So I like Blinkmoth Nexus at probably B level. Yeah,
I think so too. Any creature land like this is one of the really good ones of all time, or at least on the shorter list. They're going to perform well. Next is Bonder's Enclave. This is a land that taps for colorless, or you can pay 3 and tap it to draw a card, but you can only do that if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. This card looks better than it plays in my experience.
Yeah, that was my experience as well. Like, again, if you need it for the land type thing, it's probably fine. And you can put it in your deck that has some 4 power creatures, maybe get something out of it. But most of the time, this is just going to be a colorless land, which is not the end of the world, but you just have to keep that in mind.
Right. This, it plays at like a D level, I think. Next is Cascading Cataracts. This is a land with Indestructible that taps for colorless, and you can pay 5 and tap it to add 5 mana in any combination of colors.
So this is unplayable unless you are playing the land type deck.
Yes.
Or even in a 5 color deck, paying an extra mana on top of it, because you're actually down a mana. You're tapping 6 lands for 5 mana, and getting your 5 color fixer on turn 6 isn't really that good. So don't play this unless you care about land types.
How else am I going to get my infinite guideline station down though, Luis?
It's true. I have a guideline for you. It's don't play that card.
Next is Cathedral of War. It's a land that enters tapped. It has Exalted, which means whenever a creature you control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and it taps for colorless.
I don't think that Exalted is worth enough to go through all this. So again, if you care about land types, this is fine. Not even that great because it comes and play tapped. And maybe if your 2-color aggro deck has enough mana, good mana, that it can float a colorless mana, yeah, you could play this card. But most of the time, I don't think this is going to do that much for you. I'd probably give it a D.
Same thing, yeah. The fact that there's that one archetype is kind of making these things. I mean, this would be a lot quicker without it, right? Because we would just be like, nope. Next is, Celestial Colonnade. It's a land that ETB's tapped. It taps for blue or white, and you can pay 3 blue-white to make it a 4/4 flying vigilance creature until end of turn that's still a land. This is also on the god tier of creature lands of all time. Oh, yeah. If you're blue-white, it's an amazing card.
I would give this card an A-. I think this card's incredible.
It's incredible. It's just you have to be in blue-white. That's it.
Well, you don't even really. I think that this card is so good that I would be willing to splash it. And what I mean is play this in a multicolor deck that's not really both blue and white, but has maybe a couple sources of whatever the second one is. Like your Grixis deck or your blue-black deck has Colonnade and just has a couple ways to make white to activate it because it really is that strong.
Man, I don't know if I would do that, but maybe.
Yeah, not everyone really has the necessary grit to run that plan.
To splash a Celestial Colonnade activation.
It's a busted card.
Right. It is busted.
Especially if you're getting value out of the fact that it's a different land. But
yeah,
I would give it an A-. This card's one of the few creature lands that's actually still good enough for Vintage Cube. The card really does deliver.
It is incredible if you can activate it. Next is Contested War Zone. This is land that ETB, or that whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, that creature's controller gains control of this land. It taps for colorless, and it has the activated ability 1, tap, attacking creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn. No way.
It's a land they can steal if they hit you. Don't play this card.
Don't play that card.
I did play this card once in Constructed, but I still would not recommend it.
Next is Creeping Tar Pit. This is probably my favorite creature land of all time. This is a land that ETB's tapped. It adds blue or black, and you can pay 1 blue/black to make it a 3/2 unblockable until end of turn.
Yeah, I mean,
get on that tar pit and ride, man.
Creeping Tar Pit is awesome.
Awesome. If you can activate this, if you're in this color pair, this is going to play at the B+ ish level. It is really, really good. Yeah. So if you're blue-black, play Creeping Tar Pit and take it at a much higher rate than you would any other land. Next is Crystal.
This is honestly an A- like Celestial
A-,
Colonnade.
yeah, same level.
It's hard to overstate how good it is that end of turn you get to, or not end of turn, sorry, that every turn you get to just animate and hit them for 3. They can't block it.
Right.
And it's a dual land, and it counts for land types. Like,
right.
I consider Colonnade, Creeping Tar Pit, Raging Ravine is also in here, as reasons to go into that color pair and even potentially splashable. There's some other creature lands that are a step down, but these are the cream of the crop. So I like A- for Creeping Tar Pit.
There you go. Next is Crystal Quarry. This is a land that taps for colorless, or you can pay 5 and tap it to add Wooburg. Where have I heard that before?
Yeah, it's the same as the other one, the Cataracts, but isn't indestructible. Basically, it's the same grade, which is don't play this unless you care about land types, which I want to go on the record so we don't have to keep saying that. If you care enough about that deck, if you have like multiple survey mechanics and whatnot, you can play any of these lands that isn't like contested war zone or whatever. So that's every deck or every land here has like a floor of like a, kind of like C+ in that deck. But yes, you don't always want to play it.
Yeah, they vary wildly outside of that deck. Like you would never play this outside of that deck. Next is Deserted Temple, which is a land that taps for colorless, or you can pay 1 and tap it to untap target land. No. Just do that.
Like there's a lot of lands in here that are just straight up like zeros.
Yeah,
outside of that one specific case that we literally just mentioned.
Right. So Deserted Temple is one of those. Next is Dust Bowl. This is a land that taps for colorless, or you can pay 3, tap and sack it to destroy target non-basic land.
Still enough here. Like you're not using it. I guess. I would side this in against Celestial Colonnade. Like,
oh yeah, sure. No, that's
you
true.
turn one of your lands into a colorless land, or if you really need to play it as an 18th land. But having an answer to their Colonnade or Creeping Tar Pit is kind of nice.
It is good. Next is Echoing Deeps. This is land Cave, and it says you may have this land enter tapped as a copy of any land in a land card in a graveyard, except it's a cave in addition to its other types. I'm guessing at the wording here, by the way, because it's covered up.
Yeah.
And then it taps for colorless. Yeah, don't play that one. Next is Eldrazi Temple, land that taps for colorless or taps for 2 colorless to spend to cast colorless Eldrazi spells or activate abilities of colorless Eldrazi. Well, there's one, so no.
There's one, but you're not going to play it just for that. So no. F for Eldrazi Temple.
Endless Sands is a land desert that taps for colorless, or you can pay 2, tap it to exile target creature you control, or you can pay 4, tap it and sacrifice it to return each creature card exiled with this land to the battlefield under its owner's control. I'm sorry, but you're just not like clearing away your creatures, playing a sweeper, and then bringing them all back. Like that's just a dream that you will not.
You can block an exile. Mm-hmm. You can do it in response to removal. It doesn't have 0 utility. You wouldn't play this unless you again really cared about land types, I don't think. But it's not a 0 when it's in play, so it's kind of like a D, I guess, instead of an F.
Okay. Next is Gemstone Caverns. This is a legendary land. And if this card is in your opening hand and you're not the starting player, so if you lose the die roll, you may begin the game with Gemstone Caverns on the battlefield with a luck counter on it. If you do, exile a card from your hand. It taps for colorless if Gemstone Caverns has a luck counter on it. Instead, add 1 mana of any color.
Yeah. cool card, but not really so much for limited. Like I don't think you want to. Basically, speed isn't worth enough in limited to justify using gemstone caverns like that.
Exactly. I mean, you're not really gaining much by it because you lose the card, so you're kind of just putting yourself at parity anyway. Next is
you're down a card to kind of go first to steal being on the play because you'll have 2 lands in play when they have 1. But in limited, you just can't be down a card for that reason. So I wouldn't play this card.
Next is Grove of the Burn Willows. It's a land that taps for colorless, or it taps for red or green, and each opponent gains a life. Is this a viable dual land?
I would always play this as a dual land. The fact is that it's better than the kind of similar alternative, which is you lose a life, because you can just choose not to use this if you really don't want to. Like, you can tap for colorless, or you can just avoid tapping it. But if you're under pressure, then you don't care about giving them life. So I think it's a lot better than the Painland version, and I would play these over the Painlands anyway. Or I would play Painlands most of the time anyways. So I think that the Grove is fine. Like, you should play it in every red green deck.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like an amazing card, but it's just a good land for that purposes. So I give it like a C.
Yeah, C for Grove of the Burn.
Untapped 2-color land, like, you just can't really complain about that. The life thing is not that big of a drawback.
High Market is the land that taps for colorless, or you can tap it and sacrifice a creature to gain a life. Have we seen, is there an archetype that is so desperate for sack enabling?
Red Black does have incentive to do this.
Okay. I mean, is it a consideration then in that deck?
I think I would play this if I was short on sacrifice outlets, and especially if you needed ways to go with your systems overlords, your threatens.
Yeah.
So it looks like a playable in black-red, but I don't even think it's amazing because most of the black-red sack stuff gives you something good for sacking it. This is just if you really just need to literally sacrifice a creature. You're not really getting much of a benefit. So I would need like 2 threatens before I'd consider that, but I would play this if I did have those 2 threatens.
Yeah, agreed. Very, very narrow, but maybe a little spot there. Next is Hissing Quagmire. This is a land that ETB's tapped. It makes green or black, and you can pay 1 green black to make it a 2/2 Death Toucher until end of turn.
So this is one of the like kind of mediocre creature lands where I would still play this card, but I'm not like over the moon about it or anything.
Agreed. But again, if you're green black, like, you're playing this all day long. Like, these are totally good cards. And creature lands are just generally good, and these are tier 2 all timers, but they're still pretty good. Next one is Inkmoth Nexus. We already had Blinkmoth. This is Inkmoth. It's a land that taps for colorless, and you can pay 1 mana to make it a 1/1 Phyrexian Blinkmoth artifact creature token with flying and infect until end of turn. That's still a land. And if you've never done infect before, it deals damage in the form of -1/-1 counters, and to creatures, and to players, it gives them poison counters.
So this is worse than Blinkmoth because you don't really care about poisoning them that much, and you also it can't pump itself, but it's still pretty good. It's just still a free creature when you need it to be. So I would give this a B. I'd be pretty happy playing Inkmoth in any deck. I think it's probably better than your last spell if you want to cut a spell for it and play 18 lands. You're less likely to get mana screwed because you can tap this for mana, and it really does act as like a reasonable creature.
It does. Next is Inventor's Fair. It's a legendary land that says at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more artifacts, you gain a life. It taps for colorless, and you can pay 4, tap and sack it to search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle. But you can only activate if you control 3 or more artifacts. There's artifacts decks here, yeah.
I mean, for this, if you play this in artifact deck, maybe you'll start getting some life. That can matter, and then eventually you cash your land in for whatever your best artifact is. Works for me.
Yeah, I think if you're in the artifact build around scenario, then Inventor's Fair is very much a card you want.
So I would give it a B.
Probably
I think,
at
but
the
you have
B
to
level, yeah.
You have to be doing artifacts though.
Next is Lava Claw Reaches. So this one, ETB's tapped. It taps for black or red, and you can pay 1 black-red to make it a 2/2 black and red elemental creature with you pay X, and it gets +X+0 until end of turn. You can kind of make it into a huge mana sink if it can get through.
BK's favorite thing to do in Cube, we always would make fun of him, is to play Lava Claw Reaches and animate it and attack a Planeswalker for non-lethal. Just the right amount of clunkiness.
Yeah,
this card is clearly fine. Like you should put this card in your deck if you're playing black-red, of course. Yeah. It's good at splashing. It does something in the late game. Like you can trade off for almost anything in the late game, right? You animate it, block, and pump a bunch. Mm-hmm. So overall, I think the card is fine, but it's not on the level of Celestial Colonnade or Creeping Tar Pit. So I would still give it a B, but yeah. I think those cards are A-level cards.
Right. And this one, again, it fits only into its color pair, but it places a B in that color pair. Next is Lotus Field. This is a land with hexproof that ETB's tapped, and when it enters, you have to sacrifice 2 lands, and then it taps to add 3 mana of any one color. Is there there's no upside.
Do not get this near your deck at all. Imagine a 2-land hand that has a Lotus Field in it. Like, come on. Like, you just can't play this card. It's just, your land doesn't do anything. So, yeah, F for Lotus Field. Let Matt Nass play that one in Constructed.
Next is Lumbering Falls, which is land that ETB's tapped. It adds blue or green, and you can pay 2 blue-green to make it a 3/3 blue and green creature with hexproof until end of turn. That's still a land. So this, again, fits into that second tier. You're always going to play this in blue-green, but it isn't as good as the Creeping Tar Pit and Colonnade level.
Yeah.
But still,
I agree. I mean,
this is a B.
Totally fine card, yeah. Mm-hmm. Not a bad one by any stretch.
All right, here's one for you. Mana Confluence. It's a land that you can tap it and pay a life to add 1 mana of any color, but it doesn't add colorless, and there's no free option here. So every time you want mana out of this thing, you're paying a life.
Yeah, I wouldn't put this card in your deck. Like, I don't care how bad your mana is. If you have a 2-land hand with this as one of your lands, mm-hmm. and you're just down 5 life that game, like this isn't like Ancient Tomb, where Ancient Tomb, at least when it goes well, you got a massive advantage. You crush them with it. Mana Confluence, like when it goes well, like, yeah, sure, maybe your black-red deck this taps for red one turn, black the next, and it really helps that it was able to do both. Is that worth 3 life? Is that worth 5 life? And if you play this too early, it's going to just really get you. If you could guarantee this was like the 4th or 5th land you would play, which obviously you can't do that, but like if you could, right, a thought exercise, I would probably be in for this card because you would end up in a spot where it's like, yeah, this makes sure that your 3-color deck or whatever always has the mana it needs, but that's just not what Mana Confluence plays like. So I would give this an F. I don't think it's worth it. I think you end up taking way too much damage to play this card.
Stay away. Next is Meteor Crater. This is a land that choose a color of a permanent you control, add 1 mana of that color. But you have to have a permanent that has a color.
Yeah, so F for this, because it doesn't work unless you have a permanent in play that is of a color. So
nope.
You really don't want to be doing that.
Mirror Pool is a land that ETB's taps to add colorless, or you can pay 2 and a colorless, tap it and sacrifice it to copy target instant or sorcery spell you control and choose new targets for the copy, or you can pay 4 and a colorless, tap it and sack it to create a token that's a copy of target creature you control.
If you have access to colorless mana, this isn't the worst way to kind of get some value from that. And again, it's a land of a different type. So I would say this is mostly an F, but if you end up in a deck that cares about land types and has access to some colorless, then I think this card can definitely do something.
To like 3 or 4 other colorless sources?
I think even 2, you could realistically end up there.
Okay. Next is Mutavault. Land that taps to add colorless, or you can pay 1 mana to make it a 2/2 that's all creature types till end of turn. Mutavault's goated.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if this is in the A range. It's pretty close, honestly.
I would have it in the B+, but
yeah, I think that's probably fine.
It's right there.
It is a very strong card. Like, just having your land be a creature, it's probably about Inkmoth Nexus range, sure.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is that the dual land nature of the ones that we really like carries a big load in limited. Our mana sucks. If we can get a tap dual land, we're already happy with that for the most part. Adding a Mutavault to your deck makes your mana worse. Like, definitely worse. So it does make up for it by being really efficient. It's only 1 mana to make it into a 2/2, but those dual land creature lands are just on a different level. Next is Mystifying Maze. This is a land that taps for colorless. You can pay 4 mana and tap it to exile target attacking creature an opponent controls at the beginning of the next end step. Return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control.
So if you wanted other lands and you already had this in your deck, I do feel like you'd activate it sometimes. In the super late game, you have this in play. It is going to lock down kind of their biggest attacker.
But it does. I would say, this came out in a core set where you're kind of blinking whatever, Sarah Angels or something like that. I do wonder if in modern limited, getting the ETB triggering over and over again for your opponent is too big of a cost or something that would become really annoying.
Like you basically don't want to blink an ETB creature ever.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's very expensive. Yeah. My gut says no. For Mystifying Maze, it's just clunky, slow, adds colorless, purely defensive. It just doesn't really fit with how I see modern era limited playing out.
I just wouldn't play it if I didn't care about having different name lands. But if you do, I do think the ability will come up. So you kind of need a reason to, or if like you're monocolored or very close to monocolored or like have really good mana, then I think that you could end up playing this card, but I don't think that you should play it in like your average like blue-black deck. Do I want to play Mystic Maze? No, or Mystifying Maze? No, not really.
Needle Spires is next. At ETB's tapped. It taps for red or white, and you can pay 2 red-white to make it a 2/1 double striker until end of turn. This is still firmly in that second tier, but if you're red-white, you're just playing it
totally
all day.
Fine. I mean, it attacks well, blocks well, like.
I still think it's a B level card for the.
Yeah, I would say it's a B.
But yeah, for the red-white deck. Next is Nesting Grounds. This is a land that taps for colorless, or you can pay 1 and tap it to move a counter from target permanent you control onto another target permanent. Activate only at sorcery speed. This one really seems low to me.
Yeah, I think in the green-white deck you could consider playing it, but we had Nesting Grounds in a deck in a format that had counters as a theme. It was MH3, I think.
MH3,
and you just didn't use it that much. Like it just doesn't come up. The games don't play out that way.
It's just not how it really works.
Yeah, so I think that I would pass on Nesting Grounds, like unless you again cared about types. So that makes it like a D to me.
Next is Petrified Field. This is a land that taps for colorless. Or you can tap it and sacrifice this land to return target land card from your graveyard to your hand. God, even the different types one can't really be stoked about this one, right?
No, I don't think so. Like, well, the different types one is just playing some amount of these things just because they're straight up a colorless land that has a different type. Right. But obviously there's a limit to how much you would do that, but you do eventually want to you want to get to enough that you're routinely getting a good deal on your survey mechanics. This ability, of course, does nothing.
Just does nothing. Next is Plaza of Heroes. It's a land that taps for colorless, or you can tap it and add 1 mana of any color, but spend this mana only to cast a legendary spell, or you can tap it and add 1 mana of any color among legendary permanents you control, or you can pay 3, tap, and exile this land to have target legendary creature gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn.
Again, you're not going to get the mana fixing aspect of this very often, though sometimes you can. If you've got a bunch of splashed legends, it's maybe something. But it's a land that doesn't let you cash in for a protection effect, and if you're okay floating that, then this card is playable. Mostly, it's not that great.
Yeah, I mean, mostly it's land, tap, add colorless.
That is most of what
really mostly what it does. So I would give this a low grade, and with the caveat that Luis has been putting forth. Next is Power Depot. This is an artifact land. Oh, that's interesting. It ETB's tapped. It taps for colorless. It also says tap, add 1 mana of any color, but spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. And it has modular 1. This land enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. When it dies, if lands die, you may put a +1/+1 counter on target artifact creature.
Well, it is an artifact itself, which means that it dying is a lot more likely to occur than most lands, because you can sacrifice it, or they can blow it up, actually, if they really wanted to.
Get destroyed.
And, the fact that it's an artifact just ups your artifact count in your deck a pretty good amount. So I'd play this in any artifact deck. It seems like a pretty good addition for there.
Yeah, definitely. That artifact land thing is a game changer for it, even with the EDB tapped.
So kind of like it as a B in an artifact deck.
Yeah.
It's just a bonus little artifact. I mean, you do want ways to sacrifice it or reasons to care about having artifacts, but that's not that hard to do.
Next is Raging Ravine. So it's a land that ETB's tapped. It adds green or red, and you can pay 2 green-red to make it a 3/3 elemental that says whenever this thing attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. This one's right up there with the best.
Yeah, this is in the Celestial Colonnade, Creeping Tarpit level. And one trick that they've kind of cut down on now that new cards aren't going to work like this, but it's templated poorly. If you activate it and then you activate it again, then attack, it'll have 2 instances of the +1/+1 counter ability. Yes. So in the late game, double activating and attacking is a totally legit way to go. Yeah. So keep that in mind and put Raging Ravine in your deck. It's just such a strong card.
Yeah, B+ to A- level creature land there. Next is Reflecting Pool. This is one of my all-time favorite lands back in the day. This is a land that taps for 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce.
So the reason I don't think this card is great is it never gives you new mana. It only gives you multiples of old mana of what you already have. Mm-hmm. So I think most of the time you're just not going to want to play Reflecting Pool.
It would just be better to have another Plains or another whatever.
Yeah. So I'm a little skeptical of this card. I would generally not put it in. You would need to have a lot of double color spells. Like if you're blue-black, exactly blue-black, know their colors and have like lots of double black and double blue cards, then you can play this card. It's okay. Mm-hmm. But most of the time this doesn't help you because most Mana Screw Unlimited is I don't have a single island, not I don't have double blue and double black out of the same land.
Exactly. I love the card, but yes, you should not be playing it too often. Next is Scavenger Grounds. This is a land desert. It taps for colorless. You can pay 2, tap it, and sacrifice a desert to exile all graveyards.
So basically no real useful ability, or at least not one that's going to come up very often, but totally fine if you need another land. So
here's a card that you made famous a little bit. Shambling Vent. Land ETB's taps for black or white. You can pay 1 black, white, and make it into a 2/3 lifelinker until end of turn. And you don't have to attack or block with it, as the Wii showed us.
Yes, against Tion in a feature match.
Feature match.
Activating it and not doing anything.
Just being like, okay, my turn. This is right up there with the best of them. It's not, in my mind, not quite at that Colonnade level, but this is like Raging Ravine minus, like right at that, B+ A- range for a creature land.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the fact that it gets lifelink just makes it such a good defensive option that
yes.
You give Shambling Vent probably a B+.
Yeah, same. And same for this next one, Stirring Wildwood. This is the green-white version. ETB's taps for green or white, and you can pay 1 green white and to make it a 3/4 reach creature until end of turn.
Reach is okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think Stirring Wildwood is kind of a Lava Claw reaches tier of land, so it's fine, but it's not exciting. B+
for that color pair. Still really good for the color pair. Next, there it is, Luis. Strip Mine. God, they don't make them like this. Maybe thankfully so. It's a land that taps for colorless, or you can tap, sack it to destroy target land. They actually printed this card way back in the day of
unbelievable card, of course.
Yeah, just a crazy weird card. Is it good? I guess that's a question, right? It is you losing a land and them losing a land. You get to control when and how that happens. You get to control which land you destroy on their side. Would you always play Strip Mine?
100% of the time. You should never not play this card.
Is it just because you get to choose?
Yeah. It's also a land/spell split card. Like, yes, the spell is just destroy target land, which isn't necessarily a spell you always want to have. Mm-hmm. But I think that if you look at Strip Mine and you're just like, well, imagine the game where you're on the play and you play a 2-drop into a second 2-drop and then Strip Mine them.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that incredible?
It's incredible. And you get to look at what lands they have and go, oh, I see you've got 2 white and 1 red. I'll kill your red land. And if they ever were trying to play a double red spell that game, they're like miles away. You also just get to randomly hose people there where they kept a perfectly good opener with 2 plains and a mountain. You strip their mountain and they just don't draw another mountain for 3 turns. It's just like, oh man, you can just get people. And then of course there's that combo with the 2/4 also. So this is really interesting though, Luis. What grade would you give Strip Mine? Because we don't have to qualify this one with the, like, if you care about other land types, right?
You should always play this. I would give Strip Mine probably like a B+, A-. Here's the thing. The opportunity cost of a colorless land is not that high. Like we do warn people not to play a bunch of colorless lands in their decks because there is a cost to it. It's not free, but it's not that high. And you add to that sometimes this can completely screw them, whether it's because it kills a color and kind of locks them out of playing that color, or because just like tempo wise, you just have a fast start and end up being able to just play a spell and to play another spell and a Strip Mine, play another spell, and then it's just completely nail in the coffin. At what cost to you? That your land taps for colorless. You could, and like I said, you could even play this as like a bonus 18th land because it does multiple things. It is a very low cost with a potentially incredible effect. And yes, in the games where it doesn't do anything, there's not that many games where it's just that bad. So I kind of like A- for Strip Mine. You should probably take this over most things. You should always play it. And then of course, if you combine this with Ice Till Explorer, that's the 2/4, lets you play cards out of your graveyard, then of course you just win the game easily.
Now you're into screenshot territory also. Next is Sunken Citadel. This is a land cave. It ETBs tapped, and as it enters, you choose a color. It taps to add 1 mana of the chosen color, or it taps to add 2 mana of the chosen color, but you can only spend that to activate abilities of land sources. Still, it just it's a, what was that card from the last set? It ETBs choose a color and it makes that color. It's a thing.
The card from the last set.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, you're talking about just like an Evolving Wild. Sure, yes.
Yeah.
You would always play Sunken Citadel for that reason. Like even in a 2-color deck with that doesn't care about lands, I would always play it. And then, it sometimes can activate your creature lands, but I don't think that's going to come up very often.
Right, that part's not really the thing. But this is actually one that you could just play draft in and draft out. That said, it's like a C, right? Like this is like mediocre mana fixing.
It's like a C. It's like a C+. I actually think it's a little higher because even if you don't know that you're going to be in the land types deck early in the draft, you could be, and then taking this card gives you a little bit of extra bonus there.
Yeah.
I also have been, as usual, experimenting early, and I think that there is like a pretty reliable 3 to 5 color deck in the format.
Okay.
So Sunken Citadel is nice there.
Next is Swarmyard, which is a land that taps for colorless, or you can tap it to regenerate an insect, rat, spider, or squirrel.
They do have these. There are insects.
Yes.
So this card, if you've got 2 insects, this card is totally fine.
Regenerating is really annoying. It means that if it were to die, it said you just tap it and it doesn't die.
Yeah. So it's...
So that could be a really gnarly combo.
So I like Swarmyard at D unless you have a couple types, in which case it's probably like a C+.
C+. Next is Terrain Generator. This is a land that taps for colorless, or you can pay 2, tap it, and you may put a basic land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. And I would just say no to that one.
Yeah, this is only good under the exact circumstances we've kind of talked about.
Thespian Stage is a land that taps for colorless, or you can pay 2 and tap it to have the land become a copy of target land, except it has this ability, so it retains the ability to copy something else. Second Strip Mine.
I mean, this is an F, except if you really need different lands.
And then our last,
if you're copying a Celestial Colonnade or something, it's not nothing, but it's not great.
And then our last one is Wandering Fumarole, which is another creature land. This one is ETB tapped, and it's the blue-red, so it taps for blue or red. And then you can pay 2 blue-red to make it a 1/4 elemental with the ability 0, switch its power and toughness until end of turn. So you can become a 1/4 or a 4/1 and switch around as you see fit.
Yeah, this card's fine.
This is on the... Again, a lower tier, but if you're blue-red, you want these. These type of cards do really well, but this is still in that B range rather than B+ to A- range.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, we got through it, including special guests and bonus sheet lands.
It does kind of help a little when the bonus sheet or special guests are like 40% unplayables, which is fine. Like you can go back and forth whether you like bonus sheets or not, but I find it like relatively inoffensive to have a bunch of unplayables on the bonus sheet. So
I do too when they make
our
it
job a little easier.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's totally fine when they make it the 1 out of 8 packs style bonus sheet, but when it's
not in the every.
Yeah,
if you're seeing a Bonder's Enclave in every pack, it just gets kind of tiresome.
Come on, why is this here? Yeah, but really, the most fun for me about this was getting to hear your take on these cards that are like these lands that are in cube and like have really made a big impact there, and then unleashing them in a normal limited format. It's like, hey, Ancient Tomb, Strip Mine, the creature lands. That's cool.
There are 3 of all the creature lands in Magic, all the multicolor ones. There are 3 in the cube. Can you guess all 3? I think that you have a pretty good chance.
Yeah. So so we talked about Colonnade and Tar Pit.
Yep, those are 2.
And then I would guess the green red.
So it's actually not Raging Ravine, funnily enough.
What is it?
It's Restless Vinestock, the blue-green 5/5.
Oh, that one made it in. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that deserves it for that archetype. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of interesting. I don't know exactly. Like I couldn't tell you exactly what the best ones to have in were, but I think between Raging Ravine and Restless Vinestock, the Vinestock seems to fit pretty well into what people are doing in that color combo.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's just really cool to see these, we won't see them often, but when they do pop up, to see what they do when you kind of put old school card design like Ancient Tomb and Strip Mine and stuff that they just wouldn't do today. Into these sets. So anyway, that's cool. And like we said, Luis has had a chance to dive in. Do you have videos up already from Edge? You
can check out the TCG Player YouTube. We've got a video up there, or a couple up there now. And then I had one go up on my YouTube channel the other day as well.
Okay. So you can find that. I know Paul has his Edge of Eternities videos going up already as well. So you can check those out for the very, very earliest take. We're going to talk about it next week on the show. I'll have a bunch of drafts under my belt. We'll have the format completely figured out, be bored of it, and be ready to move on already by next week. But that is going to do it for this episode of the show. If you want to find us on social media, Marshall_LR and Luis's LSV, pretty much everywhere. You can find everything related to the podcast over at lrcast.com, including a link to both Luis and Paul's YouTube channels right there. We want to thank Ultimate Guard for their support of the show. Thank you, Ultimate Guard, and make sure you check them out at ultimateguard.com, as well as everybody who supports us on Patreon. Hello, we love you, and we thank you for supporting us. That's going to do it for this episode. We'll see you next week.
All right. I said, because of the Edge of Eternity space theme, which I've mentioned I really like, I'm going to give a quick 3 recommendations for space-themed book, space-themed show, though it's also a book, and a space-themed game. So for game, Outer Wilds, it's an incredible game by Annapurna. It's just this really cool exploration kind of mystery-style game that is one of the most creative and awesome games I've ever played. So I think Outer Wilds is incredible. It's like a time loop game, which you
is
find
this
out
a video
very
game?
quickly. It's a video game. It's a time loop game, and it is just like A+. Like it is really one of the best games I've ever played.
What can I
definitely
play
check out Outer Wilds. What's that?
What can I play it on?
Steam, and I think it's probably on some of the consoles too, is my guess. But cool. We played it via Steam. For TV show, it's The Expanse, which also was a book series, or is a book series, so you can check that out. But I like the show a ton. I like both, but the show was awesome. Just a really cool space epic, and Jeff Bezos even gave it an extra, I think, 2 seasons because he liked it, even though I don't think it was like actually doing amazing.
That's great.
But I definitely recommend watching it. And then for a book, it's books by Peter Hamilton. He's like a really hard sci-fi author, and just writes these expansive, like universe spanning books with like many of them in the same universe, like the Commonwealth, and like there's just a lot of cool tech and like societal implications of that and all that stuff. So I like this theming. I do think it's a bummer that Edge of Eternities, I feel like it's got its like kind of like the wind taken out of its sails by the fact that they were previewing Spider-Man cards during pre-release weekend. But I still like the theme, and I'm hoping other people do too.